As a matter of fact, there's a big Wall Street company that does entertainment as well that flew out to Arizona to have a meeting with me to do my life story, because there's a lot of stuff that people don't know. A lot of things happen to me, some bad stuff, some good stuff, and it's just like they thought that it would be better than the Wolf of Wall Street if we ever got to do my story, because it's more than just acting. And I lived in LA for 20
The bottomless pit of low-budget filmmaking is filled with countless oddities. In this sea of obscurity lies Michael Saquella, an Arizona-based filmmaker whose IMDb lists 23 acting credits to his name, spanning across 40 years. He is credited with writing, producing, and directing films, whose quality ranges from competent to abysmal. To an outsider, Michael Saquella appears unassuming, but further inspection into his films reveals that most of his credits are vaporware that exist only as an IMDb listing, which, coupled with a mysterious 9-year gap in his resume, creates further confusion. Altogether, it raises a single question. Who is Michael Saquella? Michael Saquella was born in 1958, the son of 2 Italian immigrants living in upstate New York. Growing up, Michael's interest initially lay in sports. But one day, while riding his bike home from a baseball game, the drama teacher offered him a leading role in the high school play.
And there was a theater coach out there with a couple of the actresses or whatever they were, and they, come here, come here. So I ride over, excuse me, and we need some guys in our play. Plays are for pussies. I said, I'm not doing a play. Are you kidding me? I don't want to do that crap. I'm a ball player. No, come on. And this one cute girl, Ann, I'm not going to say her last name, but she grabbed me and I go, all right. She brought me in there and I saw the girl stretching and bending over. They had the leotards. I go, okay, I'm sold. Where do I sign up? I read terribly. 3 days later, a couple of the girls grabbed me. Come on, you got to see your name. I got the lead role in the high school play and I can't sing and I can't dance and I can't act. And then we did the show, and then at the end of it, I had a standing ovation. And then I knew the grease paint finally got in my veins, and I was hooked.
Michael frequently relays another story around the same time of a family vacation in La Jolla, California, which was interrupted by the filming of the 1975 film Lucky Lady.
I was on a trip to Southern California with the family. So we go down there, and the streets by the beach are closed off. You can't there's tractor trailers everywhere. What's going on? One of the guards or whatever said, hey, they're making a movie. Oh, yeah, what are they making? Well, they're shooting a movie called Lucky Lady with Burt Reynolds, Liza Minnelli, and Gene Hackman. And back then, security wasn't like today, so I was able to skirt around and get in there, and I saw people getting autographs. And I went up to Burt Reynolds, who he started to hit it, but he wasn't huge. Burt said, you want an autograph? And I said, no. And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, I just want to know how to make it. How do I make it in show business? I want to be you. And he laughed. He goes, well, you got to follow the stars. You got to reach for the stars. And I looked up and I went, huh? I'm looking up. What are you talking about? I can't get to the stars. He said, harness. I said, harness? Is that something you put around a horse? And he said, no, it's a feeling. Is there anything in your life that you really want really bad? And I said, oh, I know. I'm going to get my driver's license. I was a kid. And he goes, well, you know how bad you want your license? Oh, I want it real bad, sir. Well, take that feeling and harness that. And it worked. And as he left, I said, Mr. Reynolds, I'm going to work with you someday. Smart-ass New York kid, I'm going to work with you someday. Yeah, kid, whatever.
Saquella moved to the Phoenix metropolitan area in 1977 to attend Arizona State University on a partial baseball scholarship. But after an injury to his index finger rendered him unable to play, Michael decided to course correct away from a sports career and began to pursue acting.
My dad wanted me to play baseball, which I did make it, but I didn't make it all the way, but I got to play. And my mom wanted me to be a bone specialist, a doctor, but I didn't do either one. And they weren't behind me until they saw me in showbiz. When they finally saw me in a national commercial and they saw me in a movie, they went, oh my God, and then they changed.
His then current girlfriend secured him a job as a stunt performer at Apache Land Movie Ranch, where he was supposedly cast in his first film role in a movie called Frank Cole's in town. There is no evidence of Frank Cole's in town's existence, besides Michael's claims. This is typical for Michael, as his career consists of the style of Gumpian fable, tall tales of events he supposedly had a hand in and movies he allegedly made. This includes claims, like that he originated the idea for Back to the Future, and the claim that he dated Jodie Foster, around the time Joseph Hinckley shot President Ronald Reagan to garner Foster's attention.
And then I kind of like dated Jodie Foster, and everybody says to me, "Oh, you're the reason why she switched. She went to the other side." No, it isn't. Made the front cover of the Enquirer back then because I was sitting in the director's chair with her. I don't know who I was. They took a picture of us together. I was like whispering in her ear, and it looked like I was hugging her. And they go, "I'm the reason why Hinckley shot the president." God.
This supposed Enquirer article is untraceable, and it is doubtful that it even exists. The same can be said for many of the movies he starred in. During his 20s, Michael moved to California. One of his first filmmaking contributions was as an associate producer for the 1980s slasher Terror on Tour, a film supposedly made in a single week. With his foot in the door, he soon found himself working as a crew member on multiple projects. He began networking, and found himself an agent, at which point he took on a stage name, Michael Paloma, after losing a role in a commercial that he was cast in because of a failure of communication.
So they called, and the guy couldn't say my last name. They couldn't say Saquella. Anyways, the agent had a 6'6" Native American actor. And he had the similar name, but it sounded like those big trees in California, sequoia tree, whatever they were. So they send a 6'6" guy to my 8th callback. I'm up in Indiana, I don't even know about it. They got so freaking mad at my agent, they screamed the shooter out. The other guy got the part. I lost it because they couldn't say my name. So when I got back, she says, "We're changing your freaking name." So we went and we were looking around, and she needed to get some perfume for a party or for a relative. And we picked up Paloma Picasso. She goes, "What about Michael Picasso?" I said, "What are you, nuts? He's an artist. No one's going to believe I'm a Picasso. But she goes, "What about Paloma?" And I go, "Okay." So we changed my name to Michael Paloma to make it easier for me to get big acting jobs in these huge commercials.
Michael soon found himself facing the dangers of the entertainment industry and realizing the amount of effort stardom would require.
You know, you don't get a career overnight. It takes a long time. The average actor takes about 7 years before he actually can make okay money. For my obstacles were a car, money for food, paying the rent. I mean, getting an agent, or, you know, my obstacle is I'm not a leading man. I don't look like freaking Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? I look like freaking Danny DeVito, about a foot taller than him.
While working on the 1980 film Used Cars, Saquella met actor Jack Warden, who served as his mentor and, according to Saquella, took on a parental role, offering support like a new car and assisting Michael in acquiring gigs, while shielding him from the abuse of the industry.
I did have some, you know, hang-ups and hookups with a gay casting director. Had me come to his house on the weekend, and he tried to make love to me and promised me roles in a TV series. And thank God his phone rang and he had an emergency, and I didn't have to, you know, take one for the team. But I remember I was young and kind of cute. Now I'm old and ugly. But back then, you know, when you're little and you're tiny and you're thin, and, you know, you got an old 70, 60, 70-year-old casting director that really likes young men. Yeah, woo. But I made it through it. Never again.
In 1982, Michael Paloma made his on-screen debut as an extra in the film O'Hara's Wife. During his time in California, his then-girlfriend introduced him to smoking freebase cocaine. Saquella's abuse of this substance caused him to miss his best friend's wedding in Arizona, and once he returned to California, he fell into his worst habits.
You know, I smoked for like 9 straight days. I had a couple oranges, maybe an apple, put foil on all my windows. I thought they were coming up through the ground to get me. And then I had spasms around the heart really bad. And I had a Doberman, and my doctor friend, his dog would come over every day and visit my dog, and he was barking and scratching. So the doctor came up off the street, came into the house and saw me and said, shit, he carried me to a hospital in LA. And I was in there for a long time. Didn't have insurance, and he snuck me out. And that's when I quit cold turkey.
Circa 1984, Michael was set for his big break. He had been cast as the recently deceased John Belushi in the upcoming film Wired, based on the biography written by Bob Woodward. Unfortunately, Wired's production was rife with controversy, as there was little interest in the project from outside sources. Michael did several callbacks, but the original version of the film never left pre-production.
And then Dan Aykroyd, Universal, Judy Belushi all sued, and the movie got shut down. So it never got made.
The rights were eventually picked up by another set of producers.
And Michael Saquella got the role. They said they don't want to go with a guy that looks like Belushi. We want to go to different. We want to go totally opposite. And the movie bombed. You know, I had luck, a lot of luck, and I lost a lot.
Saquella has held on to his contempt for losing his role in Wired for his entire career, which is ironic, since starring in Wired would have certainly been career suicide, as most of Wired's cast and crew were blacklisted from the industry, and Chiklis spent years recovering from the fallout.
Initially, the producers were unable to get enough money to produce Wired in Hollywood. They ended up getting their financing from the Orient and from a New Zealand brewery. Wired opens in the United States on August 18th. However, it premiered last week at the Cannes Film Festival, and people booed when it was over.
Judy Belushi wanted to meet me. I flew to New York City and we went to the Carlisle. It was pretty cool. And she couldn't stop hugging me. She just held me because I really reminded her. I look like what I'm all made up. They kept calling Dan Aykroyd, Dan, we got to get Dan down here. You got to get Dan. You guys got to do a show together. So they gave me a handwritten license to do John Belushi forever. So every time I wanted to impersonate her husband, as a Blues Brother, not as whatever, I could do the Blues Brothers signed by her.
After losing the role in Wired, Saquella took his John Belushi impression elsewhere. Shortly after John Belushi's untimely passing, there became a demand for tribute acts, in a similar vein to impersonators of Elvis Presley. Specifically, duos who could do impressions of John Belushi's and Dan Aykroyd's Blues Brothers act, which had garnered a strong cult following from their time on Saturday Night Live and subsequent feature film. Following a move to Las Vegas in 1985, Saquella began to perform as Belushi for the Legends in Concert at the Imperial Palace, a long-running tribute show that consists of celebrity impersonators. But Saquella had not lost his ambition to become a movie star. If he could not get cast as the lead in a film, he would make his own film and star in it. Michael moved to Mesa, Arizona, to write, produce, and star in a movie called Just for Fun, directed by Michael Saquella. The film was headed under the company Michael Saquella Productions, and was described as a comedy rock, music-oriented youth film. It was set to start filming in April of 1985, but never surfaced. It is unknown what fate befell Just for Fun, but the production appeared to have run into issues with distribution, as by July the film had yet to find a distributor. It was last heard of in August 1985. Years later, while not naming any specific film, Michael would say, "I was told that making your own film was hard, and it was almost impossible for a newcomer to raise any money to shoot a film. I had a restaurant when I was a young man that I sold for $50,000. I started a film thinking, I could do this, and the friends I had said that they would help and could raise additional funds to complete the film. They lied. I lost all my money, and the footage sits and will never be made." 2 years later, in 1987, Saquella was cast in Hellbound: Hellraiser 2. A rumor on IMDb states that an injury sustained during a jiu-jitsu match made him unable to film, and he was replaced. Michael is known to edit his own IMDb, but surprisingly refutes this story.
Well, Billy and I were doing a baseball picture called Angel Blues. He was directing and starring in it, and I was in it. Well, we were shooting. They sit me down and go, look, man, this is an opportunity for all of us. If you leave, you're going to hurt the film. So that's what really happened. I stayed in Albuquerque. We were shooting the movie, and I didn't go to do that picture. Also, had got the lead role in, not the lead, but I had the opening scene in Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman when the guy gets bit by the monkey. That was supposed to be me, but because of the baseball picture, I stayed. So I turned down 2 roles that probably would have sent me instead of where I'm at today.
Michael's alibi is impossible, as Hellraiser 2 was released in 1988, and Angel Blues did not start filming until 1993. Following a short break, and emboldened by encouragement from his then-wife, Michael decided to try his hand at creating his own film again. He managed to raise $25,000 worth of funding for a sports drama called Second Chance. It was going to star Saquella as Nick Polini, an accountant who was sent to jail for a crime he did not commit. When he is released, he becomes the line kicker for a famous American football team. "I want to do what Stallone did," explained Saquella. "This is my Rocky. This really is my second chance." Filming began in winter of 1988 in Escondido, California, and continued until mid-January 1989. Craig Morse filled the role of director, and Saquella served as writer, producer, and star. Despite being a sports film centered around American football, it lacked a key ingredient: a stadium. Saquella was based out of San Diego, California at the time, but planned to film at the Green Bay Packers' Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He had planned out a 45-day shoot starting in late summer, with the film shooting for a release during the holiday season. Collaborating with city officials, he sought to increase the budget to $5.6 million. The most ambitious scene was the climactic final game, where he planned to fill Lambeau Stadium with the local population. Quote, "Saquella said he chose Green Bay because he thought it would be easier to get 55,000 unpaid extras." But Michael's ambitions did not stop with Second Chance. He hoped to transform his film role into a career as a line kicker for the Packers. Quote, "I am an actor, but I wouldn't mind kicking for 5 months a year. We have athletes who become actors. This is an actor going to the NFL. That'll be a first." Saquella even claimed in a press release that the Packers offered him $8,000 to play for them after he kicked a 58-yard field goal. Packers officials had mixed feelings about the project, but the director of marketing, Jeff Sieple, said early on, "It's legitimate at this point, but it isn't a done deal yet. We'll believe it when we see the color of his money." Negotiations fell through within the month. The film's future was reliant on the Packers' compliance. The planned shooting schedule of July 20th to August 31st had the massive stadium scene set to film on July 22nd. In response, the Packers offered a contract that required that the use of their facilities wrap by July 23rd to make room for their annual training camp. The Packers' contract was sent on June 26, but Michael still had not responded by July 2nd. Michael told Green Bay's Chamber of Commerce that the restrictions placed by the Packers were too prohibitive. Jeff Sieple offered a rebuttal. "We bent over backwards. They asked for flexibility, and boy did we give it to them. We certainly didn't try to kill it, and we didn't ask for anything outrageous." Writing for the Green Bay Press-Gazette, Tony Walter said, "The movie was supposed to be called Second Chance. It might not even get a first chance." It does not appear that Saquella ever returned to Green Bay, despite the claims in his press release that was issued to newspapers across California, a month after his departure. Even early on, Saquella's career was fraught with the complications and loss that would go on to define it.
On a dusty road, good Lord, I got a truckload, and when you get it, you got something, so don't worry, cause Elwood's coming, so bad, I'm so bad.
By late 1989, Saquella was performing full-time as a Blues Brothers impersonator with the Legends in Concert show. Reporter Ken Layton of the Times-Advocate shared his thoughts on Saquella's performance. "When Carlsbad actor Michael Saquella puts on his suit, pork pie hat, and sunglasses, he does a remarkable impression of the late John Belushi. Saquella, a former stand-up comic from Rochester, New York, has linked with a Los Angeles video production company. That company has developed a 30-minute weekly comedic sitcom based on the Blues Brothers, called The Goomba Brothers. The USA Networks has agreed to pick up The Goomba Brothers for an 8-week trial run, As noted in the article, Michael served as a producer and star of the Goomba Brothers, initially described as two Italian siblings who manage an apartment building by day and do a Blues Brothers routine by night. It was heavily reworked in pre-production, with even the spelling of Goomba changing.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from Little Italy in New York City, please put your hands together for the Goomba Brothers! Come on!
The pilot that was filmed in 1990 stars Saquella opposite Reg Rogers as the Goomba Brothers, two no-name jazz musicians from Brooklyn, New York. When a TV station in California needs a replacement video jockey, it hires them to fill in.
No, I really need somebody. Leslie, find me somebody for tomorrow's program right away.
But Mr. Dick, who do you want?
I don't care. What about them?
But those are the Goomba Brothers. They're not even in light rotation yet.
They're in heavy rotation now. Get them out here, Leslie. They look really cheap.
It seems likely the pilot never aired, but a report from the SEC claims that 10 episodes were produced.
Joey, you gotta treat these people a little more respect.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about this is in Jersey. If you're famous and you get mad at somebody here in California, they send some guy out to take a picture of you like this. Then they print them in some magazines, some newspapers, and they put them on the stands where they sell groceries.
Come on.
And then they accuse you of borrowing money from aliens, and they try to get you on a date with Roseanne Barr.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. What was that face again? Yeah, I think I've seen that face in magazines. But Nick, these people aren't going away.
Not long after the pilot was filmed, Michael split from the Legends in concert to form his own copycat performance. The original iteration was known as The History of Rock and Roll, which was performed at themed cafes across California. The show was met with a positive reception. In 1990, Thomas K. Arnold of the Los Angeles Times compared The History of Rock and Roll to Legends in Concert, writing, "The concept is the same, but the budget is a lot smaller. Amazingly enough, they pull it off, some better than others. The production is a 90-minute musical romp down memory lane, every bit as entertaining as its big-budget Las Vegas counterpart. The show closing performance by the Blues Brothers, Saquella and Rolf Sammons, is terrific, except it's too long. But as Earthquake Cafe owner Bob Geiserman said, Michael's part of the act, and it is his show." A second incarnation of the show came about in 1991, renamed Michael Paloma's Legendary Superstars, which toured across the United States, first performing at the Cal Neva Casino in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, followed by performances in Arizona, California, and Texas. Legendary Superstars received a frostier reception. Jess Bravin, also writing for the Los Angeles Times, published a review on it after catching the performance in Anaheim, California. Here the issue of imitation is reflected through the mirror of celebrity impersonation, surely one of the most curious developments in late 20th century entertainment. In case anyone had mistaken this 75-minute production as just a schlocky celebrity impersonator review, trying to capitalize on Disneyland's overflow, Paloma made sure the existential ambitions of this piece were heavily anchored by a probing element worthy of Samuel Beckett. The program lists Marilyn Monroe among the legendary superstars who perform, but like Beckett's Godot, Marilyn never appears, and no reference to her absence is ever made during the production. Could this be Paloma's way of illustrating the evanescence of celebrityhood in modern America? Or did some performer just have a flat tire on her way to work? If it weren't for the 2-drink minimum, legendary superstars might be too much for anyone to take. In 1993, Saquella took up acting again, starring in the feel-good sports television film Angel Blues, starring its writer and director, William Zabka, famous for his starring role in The Karate Kid. Angel Blues stars Saquella as the intellectually disabled nephew of a famous baseball coach. One day, he is taken to visit the field and meets Zabka's character, the team's star player. When Zabka's character dies, his soul possesses Saquella's character. By using Zabka's character's innate talent at the sport, Saquella's character rockets to the top of the team.
Okay, what's the problem?
We work all our lives for a shot at the majors, and your nephew comes on the field without even swinging a bat his whole life, and he lights the place up.
A week ago, that kid couldn't even lift a fork to his lips. And now he's hitting the ball like Tommy Blake, for God's sakes. Go ahead, take a look at him. He's got more heart than all you guys put together. And I'm sick and tired of people telling me that he can't do nothing and he can't be nothing. Yeah, he's never played this game, but he knows this game and he knows what a team is.
Angel Blues was filmed in Buffalo, New York. Multiple outlets at the time noted it was filmed on the 10-year anniversary of the iconic baseball film The Natural, starring Robert Redford, which was also filmed in Buffalo. Angel Blues was set to debut on television in September of 1994, but appears to have never seen the light of day. In 2019, Saquella uploaded a compilation of random moments to his YouTube channel, which serves as the only known footage of the film. Given what little footage is available, it appears the film was mostly finished. In 1996, Saquella worked with one of Angel Blues' producers, Andre Valancourt, on a film Valancourt was directing in Buffalo. Originally titled Corporate Affairs, it was later renamed Lady Blues. The film starred Saquella as Mike Logan. His co-star was an unknown upcoming model named Julie Ross, who Andre Valancourt had met at a bar. The synopsis on IMDb reads, Vivian Sinclair manages a call-girl house near Niagara Falls, and is known as the Lady Blues. In this post, she managed to make many friends, and some powerful enemies, who would do anything to make her disappear. It is in this context that a mysterious detective hired to ruin it appears, but a midnight assassin causes an unexpected twist. Lady Blues was set to air on cable television, but has since gone missing. The only trace is the IMDb, which has a selection of Polaroids taken on set, whose reflection clearly shows Michael's phone taking the photo. In 1998, Michael made his most ambitious move yet. He founded the company Desert Winds Entertainment and served as its president and chief executive officer. Desert Winds was attempting an early foray into online entertainment, believing that with the entertainment industry's shift to high-definition television, that internet broadcasting presented a lucrative field for financial gain. Desert Winds came out of the gate in March of 1999 by announcing that it had made a $25 million deal with Warner Bros. To produce 33 episodes of a show called News Traveler, which centered around a duo of reporters traveling into a parallel universe to interview alternate dimension counterparts of famous dead celebrities and historical figures.
Can you believe it? I met Elvis, Grace Kelly, Napoleon, and Hitler.
Michael served as producer and played the lead role of Mike Lotta.
Mikey, the Elvis story was great. The phones are still ringing off the hook. The Liberace piece was a little short, though.
Speaking of getting a piece, tell him, Mikey.
He grabbed my ass.
Hey, Lotta, you should have just relaxed and enjoyed it. You're too wound up. You need to open yourself up to new life experiences.
And opening up to a man would be a new experience to you. I clench my ass so tight. I like girls just as much as you do.
I thought you were a man's man.
I am. I mean, I don't bat from that side of the plate, if you know what I mean, honey.
Whatever you say, Lotta, but don't knock it till you try it.
The only episode that was briefly available online was episode 2. The episode's plot featured Mike traveling back in time to meet a woman named Grace. The two have sex, and when Mike returns to his partner, Grace is killed in a fatal car crash, a morbid reference to the real-life death of Princess Grace Kelly of Monaco. Despite News Traveler's claims of lofty funding, only one of the 33 planned episodes has ever been released, and 10 scripts are known to have been written. Desert Wind's schedule was becoming busy. On the morning of October 10th, 1999, headlines reported the outcome of the first and only sanctioned mixed-gender boxing match in Seattle, Washington. The fight was between professional boxer Margaret McGregor and amateur boxer Lloyd Chow, during which McGregor handedly defeated Chow. The event was highly controversial, but more importantly, highly publicized, receiving international recognition. Desert Winds followed in McGregor and Chow's footsteps, with a copycat male versus female kickboxing match. It took place at the end of an event titled Cage War 2, with the main match called The Battle of the Sexes. The first combatant was 24-year-old silver medalist kickboxer Deborah Sunshine Fetkether, who has trained professionally in Muay Thai since she was a teenager. Fetkether's opponent was the 39-year-old Randy Pittman, a construction worker whose only claimed fighting experience came from brawls in bars. Fetkether was 5'8" and Pittman was an inch taller. Both weighed 143 pounds. 11 days later, on October 20th, at the Nile Theater in Mesa, 500 onlookers gathered to watch. Preceding Fetkether and Pittman were several smaller exhibition matches, but after an hour it was time for the main event, which was slated to last 3 rounds. Lasting a total of 59 seconds. The fight was deemed a technical knockout. Mesa City officials adamantly opposed the morality of such an event, but reluctantly conceded that the match did not violate any state law. Michael hoped to replicate the event's success on a larger scale, aiming to host a rematch of the fight in Las Vegas that December. Both Fetkether and Pittman agreed to the rematch, with the winner receiving $125,000 and the loser recouping $75,000. But given Pittman's abysmal performance, odd makers ruled Fetkether the 8-1 favorite to win. Saquella himself believed that Pittman's defeat was comical, but noted that Pittman was training for the rematch. "They've got him on a workout program. He's jogging. He quit smoking." Saquella also described the appeal of the matchup. Quote, "The allure," Paloma said, "goes beyond the gender issue. Sunshine looks fantastic. She's a girl you would like to date, but you don't want to get into the ring with her. As for Pittman, he's an ordinary guy you'd find in a bar anywhere in the country." The event caught the attention of erotic publication Playboy magazine, who offered Fetkether $10,000 to do a nude photo shoot. Fetkether declined the offer. The Arizona Republic published an article on the event on November 4th, and a day later published a follow-up informing readers that the Nevada State Athletic Commission had shut down the rematch, with commission member Lorenzo Fertitta saying, "I am absolutely opposed to a female fighting a male." Saquella held out hope that the rematch would see the light of day, but it never came about. Pittman and Fettkeather's bout holds an unusual legacy, mentioned in forum discussions whenever the subject of men battling women in competitive sports is brought up. Its various YouTube uploads have collectively amassed 859,000 views. Desert Winds Entertainment would continue to generate controversy, as in February of 2000, Desert Winds signed a 6-figure contract for the rights to a high-profile biopic about the life of the current sheriff of Maricopa County, Joe Arpaio. For 24 years, Arpaio terrorized Maricopa County and garnered nationwide infamy with his slew of human rights violations, a complete disregard for the 8th Amendment, and enforcement of brutal, racist policing. He was known for his theatrical approach to law enforcement, which centered around his concentration camp-esque Tent City prison. Arpaio specifically targeted Arizona's Latino community, which comprises 30% of the state's total population. In 2011, after a multi-year investigation by the DOJ into abuse by Arpaio's department, Thomas Perez, the Assistant Attorney General of the Department of Justice, noted that an expert hired to analyze the case concluded that it, quote, involved the most egregious racial profiling in the United States that he had ever personally observed in the course of his work. When describing how he would handle the challenge of adapting Arpaio's career to film, Saquella said, "It would be cute or fun for a movie of the week or cable special." The film was set to be based off the book America's Toughest Sheriff: How to Win the War Against Crime, with the book's author, Len Sherman, set to work on the film by serving as Arpaio's liaison to Hollywood. A few days after the announcement, reporter E.J. Montini of the Arizona Republic published an article where he sarcastically suggested 11 possible characters who needed casting. What about Richard Post? He's a paraplegic abused while in sheriff's custody and later paid $800,000. There aren't many actors who can do cute or fun from a wheelchair, particularly when being roughed up. Then there is the problem of financing. Movies are expensive propositions. They require the support of wealthy investors. I'm personally acquainted with a nice couple who recently came into $8.25 million. Duran and Denise Norberg received the cash from Maricopa County to settle a lawsuit they filed after their son died horribly at the hands of Joe's guards. Trouble is, even if some of that $8.25 million was used to solve money problems for the producers of the cute or fun movie, they'd still be left with a tricky casting. Who will play Scott Norberg? The Arpaio biopic never left pre-production, and Desert Winds ironically ended up in legal trouble themselves. Their supposed deal with Warner Bros. For the production of News Travelers managed to catch the attention of the United States Security and Exchange Commission, who filed a complaint against Michael Saquella, accusing him and an accomplice of committing security fraud. The complaint read, in fact, Desert Winds had no contract or other agreement with Warner Bros. Of any description at any time. Moreover, Desert Winds had no contract or other agreement of any description at any time with any other studio or other source of funding for the development of News Traveler. Further investigation showed that Desert Wind's sole revenue had come from Fettkeather and Pittman's kickboxing match. Afterwards, Michael and his accomplice announced the fictitious Warner Brothers deal as a means to drum up interest in purchasing Desert Wind's stock. The SEC reasoned that the pair had, quote, employed devices, schemes, or artifices to defraud, and engaged in transactions, practices, or courses of business which operated or would operate as a fraud or deceit upon the purchaser. In March of 2000, Michael stepped down from his position and was replaced by Peter Jacobs, who rechristened the company as Suncom and shifted the focus to DRM technology. A little over 2 years later, in April of 2002, the SEC and Desert Winds settled the case. Without admitting or denying the allegations in the complaint, the defendants consented to the entry of final judgments. Paloma and Bardazian also agreed to judgments, permanently barring each of them from acting as an officer or director of a public company. Michael ended up having to pay $530,000 in disgorgement, judgment interest, and civil penalty. In the half a decade after the settlement, Michael had failed to pay any of it. The same day that Michael settled his legal case just so happened to be within 4 days of Michael's newest film, Desert Rose, directed by Michael Saquella, which starred Michael alongside actor and model Coco Austin, whom the film claims to introduce. Supposedly released in April of 2000, Desert Rose is an erotic thriller, with a loose plot tying together a collection of prolonged, graphic sex scenes.
You broke her like a China doll! You're not gonna get away with this! Oh, great, frickin' frack! Hey, Jeff, you alright? Oh, Raj, you fucked up big time, cuz. Oh, really? How's that feel? Oh, that's too good, huh?
Desert Rose served as the first release for Michael's new endeavor, known as Red Rock Entertainment, a quote, brand-driven international multimedia entertainment company. Michael's concurrent projects, such as Legendary Superstars, were folded back into the company. Legendary Superstars, in particular, serves as the headlining act for his new line of dinner theaters. Saquella put all of his effort into his public image of wealth and luxury. At this time, Saquella hired a camera crew to follow him around to produce a reality television show based on his life, dubbed the Michael Paloma Project.
This is Michael Paloma. He trades stocks.
You know, I wanted to buy some DreamWorks today. Big one public today. Steven Spielberg went public.
Is it Tuesday or Thursday? It's Thursday. Michael is into so many different things. It depends on the minute and the day you ask.
What Michael does for a living, he does a lot of entertainment, a lot of music, a lot of live shows, and a lot of movies.
I've been an actor, entertainer, comedian, almost a singer.
The Michael Paloma Project is an artificial PR piece made to showcase his wealth and business ventures. Despite being a PR stunt, the final product paints a surprisingly negative portrait of the man himself.
You and you give them a job. I don't want any more fucking meetings.
You wouldn't even know about it.
I didn't fucking even know about shit. I'm supposed to be the guy that's doing an interview, and I find out 9 minutes before the interview. No, I've had it. She's crying her fucking eyes out in there. Because you guys are so fucking unorganized, not doing your goddamn... I didn't know I had a fucking meeting with you. And now, 9 minutes before the interview, she's got to come and tell me. So you get your shit together and get the fuck out of here. Because you both suck. I'm sorry. You don't do a job. What are you in here fucking junior? Every time I see you, don't do nothing. Why aren't you calling radio stations? Why aren't you promoting my CD right now? What the fuck are you doing? Now go work or get the fuck out of here. I've had it. That's it. Go make me some fucking money or get the fuck out of here. Go get a job. Go. Try to make go somewhere and try to find a real job. Go ahead. I dare you. All of you motherfuckers. Everybody's got it so fucking easy here. And I got a girl, all the work is on poor Misty's shoulders. Everything is. What does Robbie do? You laugh and giggle.
I'm not laughing and giggling.
Yeah, bullshit. Go and make me some fucking money.
All right.
What are you doing right now? I don't want to buy any more advertising. I want to move my CDs. I want to be on radio stations. So go fucking do it. Jesus Christ.
The character of Michael Paloma is written as a comically over-the-top, contentious and gruff businessman. Despite being presented as verbally abusive towards his employees, the show attempts to dilute this behavior by showcasing him as a good father.
There's more to Michael Paloma than just money and women. Nothing means more to him than his 2 daughters. Except maybe the Vikings.
The core conflict of the episode is his employees playing a prank on him, by leaving a fake note on his car, apologizing for hitting it. The phone number they provide is that of a Chinese restaurant. Michael calls the supposed restaurant, and they dub in a fake voiceover.
Is there a Lee there?
There's no Lee here. No Lee.
Lee, L-I.
No Lee, this restaurant.
Alright, sorry, buddy. Motherfuckers. They got and they told me. Oh, they're so fucked up, man.
The rest of the episode is dedicated to exploring parts of Michael's identity, such as his heritage, family, and his current relationship.
Michael's catchphrase is always, "How you doing?" He's Italian, he was raised Italian, that's how it is. He always starts and breaks the ice with people with, "How you doing?"
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, how you doing? How you doing there, Mr. What the fuck's your name again? How you doing?
The relationship with Michael and I, it's wacky. Everybody agrees it's wacky. It's a great relationship. We love each other, we help one another, and he helps me, and I've helped him. We've made our lives better by being with each other.
This is speculation, but it seems likely that the Michael Paloma project was never released, outside of its YouTube upload in 2019. The version available online features long intermissions where ad breaks should be, and the whole thing plays out like a rough cut to show potential investors. The episode ends with Michael, a self-proclaimed superfan of the American football team, the Minnesota Vikings, boarding his private jet so he can attend a game in Minneapolis, where he has purchased advertising on a billboard situated in the stadium, alongside scheduling a sporadic music video on the Jumbotron.
Hey, look, there it is. That's my video.
Oh my God!
The advertisement was for Michael Paloma and the New York Blues, a 2004 album created by Michael Saquella in conjunction with composer Gene Sironen. Self-described as performed by world-class players and incredibly highlighted by the infectious vocals of its driving force, Michael Paloma. The billboard became something of an in-joke amongst Vikings fans. It was situated right next to the Jumbotron, so average attendees had their attention frequently drawn to it. Coupled with the semi-regular music video, Vikings fans became familiar with Saquella's presence, even if none of them actually knew who Michael Paloma was. The incessant advertising received coverage from Minnesota's largest newspaper, the Star Tribune, with their sports reporter Patrick Reese dubbing the advertisements the Michael Paloma Mystery. In 2016, Reese would reminisce on the adverts, writing, "What fan of the Vikings from a decade ago can forget Paloma?" The ribbon board for the advertising that zoomed beneath the second deck of the dome was relatively new in 2004, when at the start of that Vikings season appeared ads for Michael Paloma and the New York Blues. All game long, Paloma was in the ad rotation on the ribbon board. In the press box, we would turn to one another and ask, "Who in the name of the Blues Brothers is Michael Paloma?" I would guess those noticing the ads in the stands were doing too the same. But Minnesota was not the only place perplexed by his advertisements. Over at Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, California, Saquella had placed another billboard, which caught the attention of a blogger under the pseudonym Matthew Black, who wrote a post on his blog, atomicvision.com, regarding the mysterious Michael Paloma. Every day I drive to work on Sunset Boulevard, where for the last couple months there have been large billboards for a band called Michael Paloma and his New York Blues, which purports to provide just great rock and blues. The billboard is clearly a symptom of an overgrown vanity project. No major label affiliation is noted, and no indie artist possessed of common sense buys billboards in LA, leaving only the people who have no sense. Finally won over by Paloma Mania, I went to his record label website, you know, one of those labels that has only one artist and one record and is obviously written by the artist. This would have been plenty good enough for my laugh of the day, But I did a search on Google for Michael Paloma, and the number 3 result was a civil suit filed against Paloma by the SEC. Yeah, I'd say he's got reasons to sing the blues.
I got a big time passion for blues, singing the blues. There's nothing like it to get on stage and just blast some of these songs, and the crowd watching all these people bebopping with you, and on some songs getting actual standing ovations, and I'm just a short, fat Italian guy, you know, 5'8" with a gut. It's nuts. Yeah, I like blues and I like acting, and comedy's probably third. You know, my CD came out in 2005. My acting name was Paloma, Michael Paloma. I put a CD out and it went certified gold, 640,000 copies in 2005. Damn. And Sugar Daddy was number 1 for 3 weeks in Syracuse and number 1 in Sacramento. But I got a couple of music videos I put out that's got hundreds of thousands of views. The girls are gorgeous in the videos. I use Las Vegas dancers. You know, I really like it. I mean, I did the Blues Brothers in Vegas from '83 to '91 at the Imperial Palace.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you able to balance all of these talents, or do you go into phases like in the past?
No, because when you do blues, you got to do blues. You got to go out and do 10 weeks, or you got to go do a show, or like comedy. You can't, if you're out doing stand-up, you're stuck. You go to town, you're out. Did you see that? Holy shit.
I thought the mob came looking for you. Something about the network? I don't know what's going on here.
Michael founded another LLC, known as Pine Canyon Recordings, to produce the album. Multiple songs from the album were used to score the Michael Paloma project, such as the song Everything I Need Almost, which served as a music video for the end credits.
I don't got trouble getting high, but if I don't get you, I believe I will die. I got everything I need, almost. I got everything I need, almost, but I don't got you, and you're the thing I need the most.
There were also plans to use the album to score the ill-fated film Concrete Cowboy, a mobster film described as Curly Sue meets the Mafia lost in Arizona desert. The only surviving footage from Concrete Cowboy appears in the form of a 6-second clip showcased on the Jumbotron during the Michael Paloma project. To promote the album, Pine Canyon Recordings had recruited Saquella's friend, actor Richard Grieco, to edit and direct 2 music videos. The music video for the song Sugar Daddy portrays Michael as a wealthy playboy who is constantly swarmed by beautiful women, such as his girlfriend. It also takes time to showcase his private jet and friendship with Richard Grieco.
I got a big house, a lot of nice cars. I eat great food and smoke killer cigars. And I love pretty women standing by my side. Be my hottie, so I can jive. Hey, I ain't looking for love. Looking for love. Let me be your sugar daddy. Sugar daddy.
In stark contrast stands the music video for Riot in Cell Block No. 9, a cover version of the 1954 R&B song by Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller. The video centers around Saquella serving time in prison, while fantasizing about being surrounded by fetishistic dancers. It retains the heavy reliance on sex appeal and a cameo from Richard Grieco. The only known reviews for the New York Blues are on Amazon. One user, called Hoffer, gave it 5 stars. I have always been a hardcore headbanger, and have never been able to stand blues music. Then, week after week, I kept seeing this Paloma guy plastered all over the Metrodome during my beloved Vikings games. A couple of times each game they would play this catchy soundbite of this amazing guy's work. All I could say to myself was, wow, this rocks. I know not many people know who Michael is, but boy is he hot. I know every song by heart and sing along with it cranked up in my car. Paloma, you are a musical genius. Eagerly awaiting your next release. Your #1 fan, The Hoffer. It should be noted that the Hoffer account has been entirely inactive since posting their review, and they supposedly live in Palomaville. The other 5-star reviewer is from a similarly inactive account that appears to belong to Jason Wozni, Saquella's longtime collaborator. Amazon features several 1-star reviews. One user wrote, "This is simply a waste of time and effort on the part of the listener, but who would expect anything else from Paloma?" Another said, "My ears are still burning. I'm so sorry that I can't get back the minutes of my life that would have been better spent listening to cats fighting or nails on a chalkboard or anything else for that matter. I am broken." The album Michael Paloma and the New York Blues was released on August 17th, 2004, and in less than a month, a press release announced that they were planning to take the act on tour, traveling across the United States, starting the next month in Las Vegas. After the release of the album and the announcement of the tour, Pine Canyon would not provide another update until November, when they announced a performance set for December 17th at the Celebrity Theater in Phoenix, Arizona. However, the Celebrity Theater website has no record of such a concert ever happening. Things continued to get worse for the New York Blues, as prior commitments, medical problems, and brewing legal troubles seemed to push the tour further and further back. The tour resurfaced a final time in April 2005, with a press release slating it to start at the end of the year. The tour never happened, and the New York Blues remains a one-off album.
You got like 3 lovable, adorable older gentlemen, and you have all these Italian guys that invade Arizona. So you got like 2 things happening. You got these crazy Italians all over the desert, and you got these old guys that are just wonderful and lovable, like grandpas. And you put the 2 together and all hell breaks loose.
In 2004, Michael's career peaked when he booked a leading role in the film Forget About It, a mafia-centric comedy directed by B.J. Davis and written by his wife, Julia Davis. Forget About It allowed Saquella to fulfill the promise he made 40 years earlier, to work with Burt Reynolds.
How many movies have you acted in? And of all those movies, which would you say was your favorite that you would recommend for us fans to watch?
Okay, good. Over 40 movies as an actor. And there's 2 that I would say that I would recommend. I worked with killer icons, Burt Reynolds, Raquel Welch, Charles Durning, Robert Loggia. So I recommend a movie called Forget About It. It's a funny comedy where I play 2 roles and I narrate the whole movie. Burt and I are the heroes. I got to work with Phyllis Diller in that film, so I highly recommend that, but I have another one.
Together, Michael and B.J. Davis created the company Beverly Hill Film Studios, whose only function was to produce Forget About It. According to B.J. Davis, him and Saquella met at the National Association of Television Program Executives Conference in Las Vegas. The Davises documented their version of events on their website, the Department of Homeland Security Exposed.com, in a write-up by Mauricio Guerrios. Quote, "Paloma promised he had a group of private investors that would fund the film and give Davis more breathing room. What Paloma wanted out of the deal was a big acting part for billing in the movie. Paloma promised to arrange everything, start a company, take it public, obtain film funds from his private investor group, which would continue to finance future film productions. All BJ had to do was lend his name to the company, bring in his film properties as the assets for the new company, produce and direct Forget About It. The promise of film funding with no strings attached is every filmmaker's dream. By February 2004, everything seemed to be in place." The write-up seems at least partially accurate, with many details that are corroborated by other sources, but the exact timeline is intentionally muddled. The write-up claims that Julia began to develop Forget About It in the late 90s, after the release of the Grumpy Old Men series, but omits what year BJ and Saquella started their partnership, with the write-up making it seem they were only partnered with each other for the duration of Forget About It's production in 2004. What the write-up omits is that the Davises and Saquella had been collaborators for years, as in 2001, B.J. Davis appeared on screen under his pseudonym Ty Davis in Desert Rose, which was directed by Julia's father, Michael Saquella.
Channel 9 brings you an exclusive interview with local hero Mitch Caponelli. Decorated in combat, a husband, a father, a mild-mannered accountant who single-handedly broke an organized crime ring here in Arizona.
On top of this, B.J. Davis was a producer and writer for News Traveler back in 1998, so his partnership with Saquella was at least 7 years longer than the Davises make it out to be. This ambiguity is typical for the Davises, as even true statements they make are mixed with omissions and half-truths, meant to make the Davises seem better. When introducing Michael in their write-up, they refer to him as an Elvis impersonator, which is patently false, before they deliberately downplay Michael's importance to Forget About It by emphasizing him being billed fourth. In reality, Michael is the film's lead, and plays Angelo Victorio Nitti, an ex-mobster in witness protection after stealing $4.3 million from the mob, who is now taking refuge in a retirement village.
Mr.
Brandon. John Brandon.
Are you sure it's not Brandoni?
Oh, what are you, the cops? What do I look like?
You look Italian to me. Bada boom, bada bing.
You. Just Brandon.
Okay. Mr. Brandon.
The marketing emphasizes the star power of its cast, which features Burt Reynolds, Robert Loggia, and Charles Durning, portraying a trio of grumpy old veterans, as well as the quote, sexy neighbor, played by Raquel Welch. The marketing is meant to make audiences believe these four are the primary characters of the film.
It's time to wise up. To the wise guys.
The production of Forget About It began in 2004. Not long after filming had begun, Michael Saquella had a heart attack and had to undergo a quadruple bypass surgery. He was unable to film while recovering, and his medical issues forced him to delay the tour of the New York Blues. The production had gone undetected for most of its 6-week shoot across the greater Phoenix area until it arrived at Sunrise Village. Here, the filming relied on the assistance of the residents, 30 of whom would serve as extras in the movie. This drew the attention of soft news pieces, but the narrative shifted once unhappy crew members grabbed picket signs and went on a strike in an attempt to unionize. Over half of the film crew had decided to unionize, as previous agreements had set rates below industry standards. B.J. Davis, who has held membership in various unions, such as the Alliance of Canadian Cinema, Directors Guild of America, Producers Guild of America, Screen Actors Guild, and Writers Guild of America, did not participate in negotiations with the workers, as he described himself as not very pro-union. The union and producers settled to have Beverly Hill Film Studios cover health and pension funds, and to raise the crew's salaries. According to the narrative proposed by the Davises, the union was part of a larger saga, which by Mauricio Guerrio's own admission, reads like a bad B-movie, set around B.J. Davis standing up to the Bonanno crime family to ensure the sanctity of his film. In the 1970s, Salvatore Bill Bonanno, the son of mafia boss Joseph Bonanno and consigliere of the Bonanno crime family, was exiled from the East Coast and moved to Tucson, Arizona, where he had previously attended the local University of Arizona. Bonanno retired from crime and became a novelist and film producer, though was known to retain an intimidating presence. According to Davis, Michael would bring Bonanno and other mafia associates around the set of Forget About It. The Davis' story repeatedly invokes classic mafia tropes, while discussing how Uncle Bill attempted to financially usurp control of the film as part of his plan to become a film producer. Paloma brought 2 suspicious-looking visitors with him to the film set. One of them was a typical East Coast tough guy in a black leather coat, who looked like he was trying to get cast in The Sopranos. His name was Anthony Tarantola. Right behind Tarantola towered his elegantly dressed Uncle Bill. Paloma was fluttering around the group, obviously aspiring to impress them, when temperamental producer/director of Forget About It, B.J. Davis, pulled Paloma over to the side to remind him that this was a closed film set. Paloma dropped a bombshell. These folks did not intend to leave. Not unless they were leaving with a piece of the film. Uncle Bill also wanted to play a part of a godfather in Forget About It. In prime Godfather fashion, Uncle Bill told BJ he wanted to wet his beak, and demanded 50% of the company, 50% of the movie, and 10% of BJ's future earnings, while extorting over $500,000 in cash from the film company and Davis. Davis sternly refused to give Bonanno a part in the film. Little did he know, the connection between the mob and the union would soon rear its ugly head. The very next day, the local union, International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE, picketed the set. Even though Arizona was a right-to-work state, organized crime's history of involvement in union affairs is an age-old reality. BJ suddenly remembered Uncle Bill softly telling him over the lunch that Arizona was his state. Here, BJ conveniently attempts to assuage himself of any wrongdoing that might have led to his crew wanting to unionize. The Davises promised to offer more insights into his run-ins with the mob, as well as the tumultuous set of Forget About It. In the book and documentary, Top Priority: The Terror Within, a sensationalized recounting of Julia Davis's life story, both of which are unavailable to be viewed online or in a physical release. What is known is that Bonanno did manage to secure a role in Forget About It for his nephew, Anthony Tarantola, who worked as a producer on the film. Michael remained in contact with Bonanno, as Bonanno and Tarantola broke off to found their own film studio, Comanche Properties Inc., which Michael worked for as a consultant and shareholder.
So I knew Bill. I met Joe Bonanno before he passed. I got to go to the funeral, and I know a lot about the family. They sat me down. We had a lot of meetings. I would have to go with them in a deli. We'd have to go in the back room and take all our cell phones, leave them in our car, and talk. And all I did for them was they had talented singers and stuff, and I would put them in my shows. I had dinner theaters, and I would hook up their people. The family sat me down and brought me, hey, well, you're in the family. Let me tell you what really happened. So I know what the Kennedys, all the way back to Jack and what happened. I mean, I was with these guys for, 10, 15 years before they died, and they told me so much.
After filming wrapped, issues persisted. For unknown reasons, B.J. Davis decided to vacate his position at Beverly Hill Film Studios and step away from Forget About It before post-production started. When he left Beverly Hill for his new studio, Hoboken Pictures, Davis took any future projects he had planned with him, which included a film called El Coyote. Actor Kimberly Cates, who portrayed FBI agent Winchester in the film, stepped up as the president of the studio and rechristened the company as Big Screen Entertainment. According to Big Screen Entertainment, Davis's departure had kneecapped the fledgling company. Quote, "Together, Paloma and Davis took the company into a disastrous 100-to-1 reverse split in March of 2004. Davis was the only director and officer of the company at the time, while Paloma counseled Davis in the aforementioned split. Within days of the severe split, Beverly Hill Film Studio stock tumbled from $30 post-split price to 4 cents, virtually wiping out the company's shareholder base. When current management took over Beverly Hill Film Studios in September 2004, now BSEG, Mr. Davis was removed from the company's board and forced to resign his position within the company. Management also had 100 million shares of stock that Davis granted to himself post-split, returned to the company's treasury. Michael ended up suing Big Screen Entertainment, seeking compensatory and punitive damages, while alleging Big Screen Entertainment had withheld the raw footage that he needed to finish Forget About It. The lawsuit centered on a memorandum, which supposedly gave Saquella 51% stake in Big Screen Entertainment, while Davis had 49% interest. Complicating matters further, Big Screen claimed that Saquella had forged the memorandum the lawsuit was based upon. Big Screen filed a countersuit claiming Michael had used pump and dump strategies to unfairly hype up the studio, and that he had attempted to usurp control of the film through financial manipulation, which Michael denied. The countersuit read, quote, "Paloma apparently believes that it is not enough to pillage and loot. He must defraud and destroy as well." At the same time, Big Screen Entertainment filed a separate personal injury lawsuit in California against B.J. Davis, which was dismissed within 4 months of filing. This did not stop Big Screen, and the company would continue to pursue legal action against Davis over ownership of the film, as despite abandoning the project, the Davises believed that as co-creators, they held the rights. Davis would be described by the courts as a vexatious litigant for abusing the legal system by knowingly filing frivolous paperwork to draw out the trial, though BJ would claim this was because he was attempting to disqualify a corrupt judge. In August of 2006, the United States Central District of California Court ruled in favor of Big Screen Entertainment and ordered that B.J. Davis is hereby preliminarily enjoined from interfering with or hindering plaintiff Big Screen Entertainment Group's existing or prospective relationships with any distribution company, or any other entity involved in the exploitation of film rights concerning the motion picture Forget About It. Shortly after, in October 2006, Forget About It was released after a year of delays. It had a 4-week run across a total of 18 theaters, and then went on to DVD, where it supposedly sold well. Big Screen's cut of Forget About It had no involvement from Davis, who would go on to promote and distribute his own director's cut without authorization, which resulted in B.J. Davis being held in contempt of court in November 2007 for violating the judge's ruling barring B.J. from interfering with the release of Forget About It or claiming any ownership of the film. B.J. Davis refused to admit defeat and would once again be held in contempt of court in 2009. The Davises would attempt to fight the order by filing a lawsuit, claiming that the judge in the case was a mob affiliate and that they were victims of a mafia conspiracy. Despite the amount of paperwork that Davises file, their filings demonstrate a very limited understanding of the legal system, as their paperwork amounts to nothing but unsorted, meaningless conspiracy theories, making broad accusations with little detail.
You got what belongs to me and I want it back.
Spread out all over the place, we'll have to get it together.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
What does that mean? Forget about it.
The most notable technical aspect of the film is the implementation of ADR. Every time Michael's lips are not dead center on screen, additional dialogue is added for his character. Often, his lips won't even be moving when he is supposed to be speaking. Furthermore, Michael's ADR audio sounds inconsistent with the audio captured on set.
Lady, get out of the way! Stop or I'll shoot! No, don't shoot, you idiot! No one's supposed to get hurt!
Andy, what gives here, man? You Mama Luke, don't call me by my first name, all right?
I'm shot!
Come on, Andy.
I can't go!
I mean, you can't go!
Come on! Just go!
Well, give me the money then!
I'm sorry. Please just hang in there. I'm sorry. You're gonna be okay.
Up.
Another issue is that Angelo Nitti's personality changes between the ADR and on-set audio. Angelo on film is paranoid, egotistical, and contentious.
Who the hell do they think they are, huh? Who do they think you're jacking with?
While the ADR audio works aggressively to water down Angelo into a soft-hearted goofball.
Mr. Macleod! Hello! What's all this friggin' noise? You guys are noisier than a pack of frickin' coyotes! love you too. Look, come on, it's late. Get some rest. Come on. What are you guys doing? You're gonna kill yourselves. Just take care. Go home.
According to Big Screen Entertainment, Michael's audio was redubbed, with another, uncredited actor replacing his dialogue, though to what extent is unclear. It appears the final film utilizes a mix of Saquella's original performance and supplemental ADR. Furthermore, it appears that Saquella's secondary role as a mafia godfather was entirely redubbed, as a high-pitched tone plays whenever he speaks.
Lenny. Lenny. My nephew. Last guy I expected to flip.
The audio discrepancies are noted in a review of the film from 2005, written by a reviewer under the alias of Chuck Banks, which was published on the lost website Chuck's Movies Reviews, even though, at the time, Forget About It was unreleased. Big Screen Entertainment alleged the review had been commissioned by Saquella. The review read, "I went with a friend and fellow movie enthusiast, excited to see Burt Reynolds and Raquel Welch together again in a cute comedy. It just goes to show that anyone can make a movie if they try. At the end of the first 15 minutes of the movie, I was confused. I have seen and been part of better films that were put together without the technical problems they seem to be having. This made it very hard to watch, and it was distracting throughout the entire movie. This is supposed to be a film for the big screen, yet with the main mob character lip sync, the final product was a lesser grade than most Japanese movies with bad lip syncing and stock video. There are plenty of films from students that are more entertaining and easier to watch." In 2007, the now defunct website YourVideoStoreShelf.com published a review of the DVD, written by Gregory Conley. The original review has been lost, but Conley summarized their feelings in a follow-up bullet point. Conley's opinion of the film was poor, calling the film mostly watchable. He found Reynolds, Loggia, and Durning to be awesome, saying, "They filled the movie with good actors that make the unfunny script less offensive." Though he disliked Welch's performance, and found her part to be pointless, Conley correctly assessed that Saquella was the film's actual lead, and expressed confusion that Saquella was left off of the box art. Conley also incorrectly asserted that Arizona gave the film tax breaks, and reprinted a false claim from IMDb that listed actor Joanna Pacula as part of the film's cast, saying she did fine because, in a movie like Forget About It, if you don't stick out and make me say, "You're a bad actor," then you've done fine for yourself. I assumed she had just faded into the background. Incensed by Conley's review, director B.J. Davis emailed Conley a DMCA takedown, threatening to sue Conley. The email read, "It has nothing to do with a negative review. All of us couldn't care less about your opinions. It has everything to do with you knowingly disseminating misinformation about the film, stating that it went straight to video, falsely claiming that actors pay checks had something to do with AZ tax deals, bashing our actors, commenting on performances by actors who were not even in the film, posting unpublished court orders, to include vacated court orders, illegally posting copyrighted material, linking to our websites without authorization, etc. You will be sued for libel, defamation of character, copyright violations, and loss of income/profit for the commercial exploitation of the film, to name a few causes of action. Based on your commentary and the content of your websites, you're obviously one of Paloma's spammers." Conley was unsure why the Davises had threatened to sue, as they believed their review was protected under fair use. The Davises no longer held the copyright to the film, and that their review was far from the only negative one published. For example, a particularly livid contemporary review by Chuck O'Leary on FullViewDrivein.com wrote, "Forget About It is an inept, choppy, painful-to-watch mess that looks like it was thrown together by rank amateurs." Conley rebutted the Davises' threats in a follow-up blog post, writing, "Okay, let me see here. I never said the film went straight to video. I incorrectly said that Arizona gave the film tax breaks. That mistake was corrected within 12 hours of the review being posted. Bashing actors is not illegal, nor does BJ Davis have any right to sue on an actor's behalf. I didn't publish any court orders. I linked 2 court orders published on Big Screen Entertainment's website, which means that they weren't unpublished. As you can see, he also accused me of being in bed with the lead actor of the film. I've never spoken to Michael Paloma before in my life. Just so it's clear, let me state on the record that Michael Paloma is a horrible actor. Visitors to the site largely supported Conley, but the comments also contained lengthy personal attacks upon Conley, contributed either by the Davises personally or by the Davises stock puppet accounts, which had names such as FAI, Gotta Be Kidding, and Greg Sucks. The fight spilled from the confines of the website and onto the IMDb message boards, where Conley informed users of the lawsuit threat. Also on IMDb, a Davis sock puppet account named MintTB devoutly defended the film and made a post insisting that Conley was a scammer who fabricated the lawsuit threats to drive up traffic to his obscure site. While Conley managed to attract supporters, MintTB was ignored by other users. Days after Conley posted their rebuttal, Julia Davis emailed Conley a subpoena. Conley notes on their blog the absurdity of emailing a subpoena, an unpopular method of delivery that was especially uncommon in 2008. Julia Davis's subpoena would have been invalid, as not only had Conley not agreed to email as the method of delivery, the Davises never filed a lawsuit. So an order mandating Conley appear at a trial would have required there to be a trial. Conley engaged BJ in an emo chain, where BJ doubled down on his assertion that Conley was collaborating with Paloma in order to slander the film, while emphasizing the high quality of his director's cut. Who else would have this much interest in bashing the film? Only Paloma and his crew. It's not just about that. Your website specifically states that it contains reviews only for straight-to-video films. Why did FAI end up on your website at all? It was theatrically released, and won Best Picture award. Furthermore, what you're critiquing is not even my cut of the film, so you're sorely mistaken by thinking I'm taking your review personally. I don't see why, unless you're connected to Paloma, this film would be given this much attention on the website that handles an entirely different caliber of projects. You're acting as if you're obsessed with the film. With what you're doing right now, you're only confirming my opinion that there's something more to this than just a review. None of the substandard homemade movies on your website come close to FAI. Demonstrating the real source of your interest, Paloma was listed in front of the real stars of the film. You referred to him as the actual star of the film, and wondered why his photograph was not used in the artwork. There is not one sane person in this world who, after seeing the film, would make these comments. You state Raquel Welch's character could have been written out of the script, when her part is central to the plot of the movie. Could the real reason behind your comment be the fact that she would not talk to Paloma on the set?
On the movie, forget about it. Forget about it.
Forget
4
about it.
hours to put her frickin' makeup on. Jesus, she had like 15 wigs. And then she kept bitching at all of us. The director hated her. So in real life, she was a pain in the ass.
It's blatantly obvious that you never watched Forget About It, and your information comes from www.imdb.com and Paloma. We'll make sure to expose your phony reviews for what they really are. First Amendment protects the freedom of speech. It doesn't give you the right to lie. You only think it's a joke. It's not. This is not the first time Paloma had someone write a phony review. Join the club. I would strongly advise you to get an attorney. Conley would make a series of follow-up posts, with updates as the situation unfolded, including a detailed recounting of the legal trouble that unfolded during Forget About It's post-production. This led to Conley being contacted via email by someone claiming to be Michael Paloma, who applauded Conley in their fight against Davis. Conley doubted the authenticity of the email, but played along. "Mike, nice to hear from the man I've been in cahoots with for the past several years. However, the exchange ended after Michael Paloma called Conley a prick. The conflict eventually garnered attention from news outlets such as Wired and BoingBoing.net. Finally, Conley ended up receiving a comment from Stephen Eckleberry, the president of production at Big Screen Entertainment, who made a series of allegations against Saquella. To BJ and Julia's defense, which is amazing all in itself, Michael Paloma did indeed have a fake reviewer a while back give the film a review, after realizing he had been voiced over. The reviewer called himself Chuck Banks and created an elaborate website pretending to be a legit reviewer, including having all sorts of reviews of other movies on the site. We found out through obtaining records and credit card receipts it was all fake, and we know the guy who Paloma hired to set it all up. When BJ, Julia, and a few of us here saw similar patterns in your review, particularly asking that Michael Paloma be put on the box art. Backstory on that. Paloma had made his own poster for the film, putting himself in front of the stars. It was up on IMDb and a few other places. We had to get it removed. Questioning your connection to Mr. Paloma was not out of left field as it first may seem. Michael Paloma, just as he did in the movie, absconded with all the post-production investors' money, $900,000, for finishing the film. We all had to scramble to come up with post and pickup shot funding. Unfortunately, Michael Paloma not only attempted to ruin our company with this theft of shareholder money, but he compromised this film by not giving us as filmmakers the opportunity to finish the film as it properly should have been. He instead made his own movie with the post funds called Blue Lake Massacre, which he stars in, as well as buying a flower shop, Run Florist Run, a restaurant, and getting plastic surgery to boot. That is where our investors' money ended up. Good times. The whole experience has been surreal. I would say, cut the Davises some slack. They have a right to be a wee bit sensitive. Nothing came from the Davises' threats. Conley's original review has long since been lost, and in the end, Forget About It would not be remembered for any of its contents, but for the legal trouble that seemed to plague it. After Forget About It, Michael directed the film The Blue Lake Massacre, which he wrote, produced, and starred in. Michael plays the main villain, known as Marcus, a serial killer who is a blend of Jason Voorhees and Norman Bates. When a group of horny, pot-smoking, millennial stereotypes arrive at the campsite where Marcus lives, he carves his way through the group, saving one who he becomes infatuated with.
Too bad I got nothing left for you. Maybe I'll kill you. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll let you live while I recover. Maybe I'll just kill you! Dress you like a deer! Better yet, I want you to watch a master work.
The Blue Lake Massacre serves as a time capsule of cliches and outdated stereotypes that were popular in the early 2000s.
Skate-ass tricks, skip this, skip that. Whose idea was it to come camping anyway? Why do I always have to get the bags? Shit.
In the finale, two of Marcus's victims deliver him his comeuppance, only for there to be an unfulfilled sequel hook in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, oh, my knees.
Bastard.
You!
I'm gonna fucking die.
You too.
Production wrapped in 2005, but its release was delayed to 2007, though archived IMDb message boards indicate the release was delayed all the way to 2016. Whenever it was released, it was renamed The Blue Lake Butcher. Around the same time, Red Rock Entertainment collaborated with actor Crispin Glover and director William Deere on the 2006 slasher Simon Says. With a story from Michael and a screenplay by Deere, filming began in May of 2005, and when it released in 2006, all mention of Saquella had been removed from the film in an effort to distance the film from his involvement. Afterwards, Michael started writing and directing a project known as Dream Round. The story centered on Joe Bona, a beleaguered businessman who finds little satisfaction in his daily life. Bona's wife encourages him to pursue his dream of becoming a semi-professional golfer, before she and her children are killed in a car accident. Heartbroken by the loss of his family, Joe Bona swears to become a semi-professional golfer to honor their legacy. Dream Round ran out of funding, and the project would not be revisited for over a decade. The last project Saquella had a hand in was a TV movie called Just Ask Mike. From what little is known about it, Just Ask Mike appears to be some sort of workplace comedy set in a radio station. Before it could be released, Michael's career would come to a crashing halt.
And then you pick up 4.
Now appearing on your TV is Chili's new cheesesteak sandwich, loaded with Philly steak and melted Swiss cheese. If you wish to experience smell-o-vision, scratch inside the dotted lines. Smell that Philly steak. How about those onions and bell peppers?
I'm starving.
Fifo. Chili's cheesesteak.
I'm driving.
Smell-o-vision from Chili's.
In relation to the manipulation of the stock market, a pump and dump scheme is a scam, where the perpetrator will artificially influence the price of a stock they are invested in. The scammer will then manipulate other potential investors into buying the stock in droves, pumping up the cost of the stock, and when the stock hits its peak value, the scammer will dump all of their shares, reaping the rewards and leaving everyone else with worthless shares. This is illegal. Government organizations, like the United States Security and Exchange Commission, are put in charge of preventing this type of market manipulation. But at the turn of the millennia, and as the internet became widespread, scammers now had a new avenue to initiate their schemes. Email chains and chat rooms became fertile ground for these types of scams. In 2007, Michael Saquella once again found himself in conflict with the Security and Exchange Commission. He had come on their radar once again, as they believed that Michael concocted a scheme in tandem with stock trader Lawrence Kaplan to, quote, violate the registration and anti-fraud provisions of the federal securities laws. Beginning in 2003, the duo would scam their way through 7 different micro-cap companies across the US, starting in Arizona and heading up the West Coast to Washington State. The scheme followed a similar pattern. Michael, under the guise of a legitimate financer, would approach a small, privately owned business, preferably in financial trouble and inexperienced with private trading. Michael would promise to earn the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. The plan hinged on the targeted company giving Michael control over a significant amount of their shares. After commandeering the targeted company's shares, Michael avoided registering the companies for public trading to avoid the watchful eyes of the SEC. He, quote, circumvented the registration requirements of the federal securities laws in order to obtain large blocks of purportedly free trading shares. Saquella began to sell the stocks on pink sheets, which are typically cheap stocks for small companies that are sold through individual broker-dealers instead of being listed on large stock trades. Pink sheets are generally seen as riskier due to a lack of oversight on the federal level. Kaplan and Saquella would then begin a complicated game of ping pong, where they would transfer hundreds of thousands of shares back and forth between each other through broker-dealers. The same stock would transfer between Kaplan, Saquella, or another individual, thereby technically making the companies publicly traded entities. Then, Kaplan and Saquella entered the next phase of their operation, boosting the price of the stock using a combination of matched orders and wash sells. Saquella and Kaplan traded the stock back and forth with one another until they had created the facade of an active trading market surrounding the company. With the illusion in place, they began to market the stocks using an invasive combination of spam emails and blast faxes. They aggressively advertised the shares to potential investors. The advertisements, quote, included material misassessments and/or baseless price projections, and which typically failed to adequately disclose the nature and source of the spammer's compensation. These spam emails and blast faxes were often disseminated without the approval of the companies. Investors took the bait, and once outside parties had increased the value of the stock to an acceptable level, Kaplan and Saquella quickly liquidated all of their shares and kept the money for themselves. The investors they had lured in were left with worthless stocks, and the companies they work with had their reputations ruined, and, at most, received only 10% of what Saquella had promised them. In the case of Latin Heat Entertainment, the company they had scammed had to declare bankruptcy. The most documented example of Saquella and Kaplan's scheme was perpetuated against Courtside Products Inc., a sports accessory designer based out of Spokane, Washington, which was founded and headed by Lola Emter. In the preceding decade, Emter and her husband had poured anywhere from $400,000 to $75,000 into their company. They sold several rental properties and took out a second mortgage on their house to make the company succeed. In 2005, the 65-year-old Emter said, "We used to have a pretty good lifestyle, but not anymore. I've taken one vacation in 8 years, and that was to see family in California." Courtside sales had peaked at $500,000 annually, but dipped in 2003, leading Emter to believe expansion was the only way to keep the company going. Hoping to find private investors, Emter was contacted in early 2004 by a financial advisor named Keith Robertson, who inquired if she had considered taking Courtside public. Emter was not interested in going public, and told Robertson she was only interested in private investors. Months later, Robertson contacted Emter again, claiming he was having trouble finding private investors, at which point Robertson encountered Saquella, who told Robertson he could raise a guaranteed $250,000 and upwards of $1 million for Courtside through a public offering. Robertson would serve as a middleman between Emter and Saquella, touting Saquella as a reliable stock promoter, even though Saquella was not a registered stock advisor in Washington or any other state. Robertson eventually convinced Emter to enter into an agreement by using unregistered stocks, which Robertson claimed would require less paperwork. It was ultimately the promise of $1 million that convinced Emter to take Courtside public. In hindsight, Emter would say, "I was very naive about going public." Saquella received control over 7.5% of Courtside stocks, which he controlled through 3 of his companies, including Pine Canyon Recordings, all of whom were listed at the same address. To promote his newly acquired stock, Saquella sent out thousands of unsolicited spam emails and blast faxes. From late 2004 to early 2005, while promoting Courtside as a top pick and strong buy, and falsely claiming that Courtside was a prime target for takeover by Nike or Reebok. The spam messages garnered a severe negative reaction and resulted in Emter receiving multiple threats targeted at herself and her family. Feeling a measure of guilt, Emter would call those affected by the spam to personally apologize. These spam messages attracted the attention of the SEC, who, on January 28, 2005, forcibly suspended trading of Courtside stock for 10 days. Alongside the stock of Comanche Properties, John Reed Stark, the chief of the Office of Internet Enforcement, said the suspension was to prevent a possible pump and dump scheme. Saquella quickly became a lead suspect, as his name was the only one associated with both companies. Emter Securities lawyer, Tolan Ferruccio, was quoted saying, It's not too great a leap to think that the person who had the shares would be doing the spamming, because they're the only ones who would benefit from it. Ferruccio believed Saquella had made $4 million through the trading of courtside stock. In comparison, courtside had received only $75,000 from the deal, far under the $250,000 minimum they were promised. When questioned, Robertson claimed that he was aware of Saquella's previous run-in with the SEC, but reasoned, "We just thought, there's no way he would be so stupid and do something criminal again." Tolan Ferruccio would summarize the situation by saying, "The company here is the victim. Courtside will be okay, but this is a cautionary tale of what happens if you want to go public and don't do it the right way, or don't fully understand the securities market. There's more sharks out there than goldfish." Before the SEC could shut down courtside stock, Robertson sold 300,000 of his shares, without informing Emter of the sale. By the time the SEC put a stop to their scheme, Saquella and Kaplan had defrauded 15 different companies. Altogether, Michael and Kaplan's scheme had earned the duo $3 million. During the litigation against them, rumors began to sprout up across the internet of Saquella's alleged ties to the mafia, specifically centering around Saquella's involvement with Salvatore Bonanno and his company Comanche Properties. Michael was involved with Comanche as a consultant for the company. The level to which any of the leadership of Comanche was aware of Saquella's stock manipulation is unclear, and there is no mention in any of the government's findings that Saquella had collaborated with any mafia entity to perform the deals. But when Comanche had their stock suspended, they felt it necessary to release a statement denying involvement in the spam email. Quote, "The company is investigating this matter," stated Anthony Tarantola, president of the company. "However, we can say that the company and myself in no way were responsible for sending any spam emails." Michael Paloma, a consultant and company shareholder, has also denied any responsibility for any spam emails. Further, Bill Bonanno has denied any involvement in the spam emails. Seemingly, the mafia connection started from a grain of truth, mixed with confusion caused by rampant speculation, originating from BJ and Julia Davis. The Davises had a portion of their website, the Department of Homeland Security Exposed.com, dedicated to Saquella, and in conjunction with Courtside Products, they created a website solely dedicated to Saquella called PennyStocksExposed.com. Another of the Davises' websites, called Newsfeed Unlimited, a more general entertainment news website, was retrofitted to give Saquella's case special spotlight. The Davises' extensive coverage of Saquella's case drew the attention of internet users interested in the story. What the Davises' coverage lacked in plausibility, it made up for in sheer entertainment value. This story has it all. An Elvis impersonator who claimed to be a samurai competing in jiu-jitsu matches, alleged that he was seeing dead people, recorded his own blues album, was involved with the mob, stole millions in sophisticated stock schemes, and ended up in prison, in a shocking twist to an already elaborate plot. The narrative of Elvis impersonator turned mobster was entertaining enough it began to make its way across the internet and into newspaper headlines that emphasized Saquella's mob connections. BJ Davis goes as far as to claim that he was the sole reason that Paloma was brought to justice, saying that he personally contacted the FBI and SEC to turn them onto the case. Paradoxically, at the same time, the Davises were in the middle of a long-running legal battle between them and the Department of Homeland Security. They dismissed this contradiction and their complete lack of presence in any official reporting by claiming it is because it would contradict the government's attempted portrayal of BJ and Julia Davis as dangerous criminals and domestic terrorists. Saquella has only recently begun to acknowledge his supposed mafia ties.
In the beginning, we were doing it right. It was bringing extra money in. I could make movies, but I got involved with the mob. And they were just friends. I wasn't Ian. I wasn't a hitman, but I helped them and they helped me. They pushed me really hard to do a couple of these public deals, and that's where we got in trouble because they lied. They said they had Sharon Stone and they had Tiger Woods and they had Tony Danza and real big one, the black actor. He's in every freaking movie.
Samuel Jackson?
Samuel Jackson. So we put the press releases out, and when the government saw that the stock was dropping, they made calls. They find out that who's Michael Saquella or Michael Paloma? Who's these guys in Tucson? So I was bamboozled, and I put it out, and I signed the stuff, and I got in trouble. I got caught in conspiracy.
On July 25th, 2007, Lawrence Kaplan pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit securities fraud. A year later, Kaplan, at 64 years old, was sentenced to 3 years in prison and forced to pay $7,333,384.21 in restitution. Shortly after Kaplan's plea, Michael followed suit. On August 20th, 2007, Saquella pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit securities fraud and 1 count of electronic mail fraud. 7 months later, Michael Saquella was sentenced to 10 years in prison and forced to pay $7,806,303.58 in restitution. He was 48 years old. The ripple effects from the duo's actions were felt throughout the year. Saquella and Kaplan were only 2 out of 11 individuals that would be linked to related stock manipulation schemes. In February of 2008, the SEC had come to a settled enforcement action against California-based attorney Kenneth M. Christensen. In the past, Christensen was the legal counsel for Saquella during Desert Wind's encounter with the SEC. Saquella approached Christensen in 2004 for assistance. The SEC stated in a press release, "The Commission alleges that on 4 occasions between May 1st and November 30th, 2004, Paloma hired Christensen to issue opinion of counsel letters, warranting that certain offerings of securities were exempt from the registration provisions of the federal securities laws, and that there were no restrictions on the resale of the securities sold in those offerings. In each instance, Christensen knew, or should have known, that his opinion letter would contribute to Paloma's unregistered public distribution of securities through non-exempt transactions." The Commission further alleged that Christensen, in fact, possessed documents and other information signaling Paloma's intent to conduct unlawful distribution by ultimately selling these securities into the public marketplace. Without admitting or denying the charges, Christensen consented to pay $25,000 in disgorgement. Similarly, Keith Robertson was fined $10,000 by the SEC for violating the section of the Securities Act requiring registration of broker-dealers, securities salespersons, and investment advisors, and investment advisor anti-fraud provision of the Securities Act by receiving shares of courtside stock as compensation for consulting services. Phoenix-based securities attorney David B. Stoker pleaded guilty and received 2 years and 9 months in prison. His co-conspirator, Justin Medlin of Paris, received 6 years in prison. Stephen P. Lusko and Gregory A. Nuo each received 5 years in prison. Brian Brunette was sentenced to 1 year, Anthony Tarantola was sentenced to 6 months, and Henry Hank Zemla only received 3 months. Tarantola and Bonanno's company, Comanche Properties, never regained the right to trade stock, and as a direct result, their company was folded into the larger Nevada-based company, Navacal. None of their film projects were ever produced. In April 2008, the Huffington Post published a headline reading, "Life Imitates Art and Forget About It." The article was a contribution by Big Screen Entertainment itself, in a petty attempt to advertise the film. Big Screen's press release was largely plagiarized from a contemporary press release written by B.J. Davis, though Big Screen slightly changes the wording and removes the mafia angle. In an amazing life-imitating art turn of events, Michael Paloma, one of the lead actors in our new release, Forget About It, starring Burt Reynolds, Raquel Welch, Robert Loggia, and Charles Durning, was sentenced to serve 10 years in prison for securities and mail fraud. Unknowns to us, Paloma, whose real name is Michael Saquella, was previously sanctioned by the SEC. The irony of the situation is that Paloma's real life mirrored his acting part, as we soon learned the hard way. Prior to being convicted, Paloma lived the high life at the expense of his victims. He bought private planes, homes, businesses, expensive cars, and real estate with the proceeds of his illegal stock manipulations. Paloma's greed was intrinsically intertwined with his vanity. Justice was served, and Paloma was sentenced to serve his 10-year prison sentence in an Arizona correctional facility for individuals with medical problems. The reasons cited by Mr. Paloma's attorneys for his special treatment in sentencing were obesity, anxiety, heart problems, erectile dysfunction, and hallucinations including seeing dead people. However, as the producers of Forget About It, we were just one of many companies victimized by Paloma's schemes. But despite Paloma's antics, our film has been performing exceptionally well in rentals, is currently available in all major retail stores, so who has the last laugh now? In 2009, BJ and Julia Davis filed a lawsuit against the estate of the recently deceased Bill Bonanno. The lawsuit attempted to simultaneously sue 50 different individuals and corporations, employing a scattershot approach that seemed to include anyone they ever felt wronged them. This included the currently incarcerated Michael Saquella, Lawrence Kaplan, and Anthony Tarantola, as well as, but not limited to, the Harkins Theater chain, Jonathan DeMock, aka Chuck Banks, the Mallview Cinema chain, the Screen Actors Guild, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the IRS. The lawsuit hinged on a conspiracy theory the Davises had developed that proposed that Big Screen Entertainment was secretly part of a mob-funded coup to depose BJ as president and hijack production of Forget About It, and that Kimberly Cates was secretly a puppet leader awaiting Saquella's eventual release. Simple facts like the time Saquella sued Big Screen and the time they sued back are conveniently ignored so BJ can repeatedly mention how he is an accredited filmmaker and how great his director's cut supposedly is. It appears the Davises' convoluted mafia narrative was less effective in court than online. Within 9 days of filing, BJ Davis voluntarily dismissed the case before it went to trial. Not quite ready to let go, BJ and Julia Davis would feature Michael's case via archival footage in 5 episodes of their TV show, Whistleblowers: The Untold Stories. But like their previous documentary, it is unavailable online or as physical media, but plot summaries on IMDb indicate Saquella's presence was minimal. At the time of its supposed release, Michael was only 2 years into his sentence. Saquella would say the worst heartache he had ever experienced in his life was being unable to see his daughters for 8 years.
In the camps, I was in 3 of them, and there's still, the different gangs in there, the Texans and, the Aryan Brotherhoods and, the whites and the blacks and the Meg. I mean, it was like a lot of politics, but nobody really got beat up unless you were a really bad rat. But I got in trouble when I first went in, never been handcuffed in my life. I was supposed to get transferred because of valley fever, and I wasn't supposed to stay there because I had adult diabetes. I talked to the wrong guy, and I got locked up, and they put me in the SHU, which is 7-foot room by 9 feet. Toilets in there. You got a bunkie. You can't move. You can't see any light. I got stuck in there for 4 months because I was a bad boy, I guess. Then they ship me to the big place. You're behind the fence, razor wire, gangs, people are fighting, getting blood, people dying. I went through 2 riots. I saw guys' heads get split open. It wasn't really nice. It was really awful. I couldn't wait to get on the yard. I didn't care about the fence. All I know is that I've been locked up in this little room for so long that I said, as soon as I get out, I'm going to kiss the ground. I went up to the yard, and I got on the grass, and I kissed it. And 2 big white Aryan Brotherhood guy tattoos everywhere. Hey, who you run with? They said, Ron, look at me. I'm 270 freaking pounds. I can't run. They said, no, your affiliation. What? Who do you run? What affiliation? I go, yeah, SAG. They go, what? SAG? What's that? I go, SAG, the Screen Actors Guild. They died laughing. They put me under their wing, and they protected me the whole time I was there. It was crazy. Oh, but funny, that my movie Forget About It, that's been on the screen there, came out as an institutional film. 2 of my movies played while I was in. And because of that, I was like famous. I was like Brad Pitt inside. It was amazing. Couldn't do anything. whatever they would cook dinner for me, put me on the softball team, whatever I wanted. I never had to go to commissary. They bought me all kinds of stuff. Everybody wanted to take pictures with me. The warden finally called me in the office and said, listen, you can't take pictures with these guys.
You have a daughter, right?
2 daughters, 31 and 21.
So the 31-year-old experienced the fact that the mom has to say, well, daddy's in jail. Is that what?
Oh, they both. Well, the little one was 8 when I went in. Well, they both know. Mom's told them. The little one couldn't come. The mother didn't want my daughter to see me like that. My big one came to visit me a couple times. You know, I missed them. I called every Sunday. Called everybody.
Did you have tears? Did you have tears going to bed when they would write you letters, these hearts?
At nighttime, you'd have tears and, you know, cover your head in a pillow because you don't want other grown men to see it. But you could hear grown men sniffling and crying. Most of the time, you'd go into the shower, and that's where you guys would lose it. You know, I think I lost the. You know, you're like, what did I do wrong? I believed in the system. I believed what we were doing. I didn't really know. But the problem that I had was I got involved with.
In the 8 years Saquella was incarcerated, Obama completed 2 terms as president. The Marvel Cinematic Universe had come into existence. Streaming quickly overtook traditional television, and shows like Stranger Things became cultural phenomena. Online platforms like YouTube and Vine were quickly proving that they could produce genuine celebrities. In those 8 years, the entertainment industry had morphed into an entirely new beast. But Michael, now 56 years old, slid right back into the facade of a successful filmmaker and proud Italian-American. His sins were in the past, and it was time for him to face the streaming age.
But Michael, let me ask you this. So you're saying you lived like a A-list star. I mean, people were all over you, right? People wanted to hang out with you. People
Yeah.
Who the hell is this guy, right?
Yeah, they did. I built a 7,100 square foot home. You know, the funny thing was, I had a live entertainment company. We did the lookalike shows, the Elvis, Blues Brothers, Frank, Rat Pat, Sinatra, Marilyn Monroe. And I had casinos, a bunch of casinos going. I sold the company for a lot of money. And everybody wanted to hang out with me because of that. But I built a huge home. I had 2 cabins, 2 jets. I was rolling. But I had most of that before I ever got into the stock world and got in trouble. And they took it all away from me, everything.
So,
even stuff like as acting or what.
How many years did you do time?
Am I supposed to say that right now?
Yeah, who cares?
I did 8 years.
In federal?
I did 8 out of 10. Then I did 3 years of probation, half a year home confinement. All done, been done. I've been free for quite a while, and I'm making a huge comeback. It was funny that I went to a place called Carrabba's, and I knew a manager, really liked him a lot when I got out. And I was allowed to finally go to restaurants and stuff. So I went to dinner, see my buddy. And he was a real heavy guy. Now he was skinny. I couldn't even recognize him. And he gives me a huge hug and he says, man, how was Australia and Bora Bora? I said, huh? Because, yeah, I heard you were on vacation shooting a TV show down there. My family and my friends here didn't want anybody to know. So I told them I was on vacation for 8 years. It was cool. But, I mean, I made the front page of I made the front page of the Wall Street Journal because of what we did. Not a nice thing to talk about, but it's over with. I learned my lesson. And, you know, now it's all about giving back and being nice and caring and you know, and I've even been called the guardian angel, which is another story altogether.
Upon his release from prison, Michael took to Twitter, mostly posting about the Vikings and his confusion with the platform. Abnormally, in 2017, he created a short-lived Twitter account promoting his unreleased TV show, Just Ask Mike. After tweeting out the cast list, the account was abandoned. Back on his feet again, his first post-release role was in May of 2017, in a skit by YouTuber John Bravo, about his rivalry with bodybuilder Kali Muscle. Fittingly, Michael's first role after release was that of a mafia member.
Johnny, now what you want?
Vinny, this is serious.
Serious? What do you mean?
Remember that guy I was telling you about? The Kali Muscle guy?
Hey, how you doing? So there's this baboon, he's been fucking with Johnny, my nephew. Yeah, so you remember that thing we did on the west side? Yeah, you remember that thing? It was kind of messy. This time I want to do the same thing, but I want to clean it up.
The video refers to Michael as special guest and gives him the curious credit of special thanks to Michael Saquella from The Sopranos. After he eased back into performing, Michael even began to revive his tribute acts.
Superstars Live from Las Vegas, coming to Arizona Golf Resort in Mesa, Arizona. 3 shows.
But the allure of the silver screen called him back. Around midnight, on December 14th, 2010, U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was shot and killed near Rio Rico, Arizona. The squad was in pursuit of bandits, intent on robbing drug smugglers and migrants. The agents identified themselves as law enforcement and attempted to perform an arrest. The suspects refused to comply, and the agents shot at them with less than lethal beanbag guns, until the bandits escalated the situation with fire from assault weapons, causing the federal agents to switch to live rounds. During the ensuing firefight, Terry was shot in the back. The bullet hit his pelvis. They attempted to evacuate Terry to the hospital, but he died en route. He was 40 years old. It marked the first death of a Border Patrol agent in over a year and a half. Brian Terry's death had the unintended consequence of exposing Operation Fast and Furious, a policy where U.S. federal agents allowed criminal organizations, such as Mexican cartels, to buy military-grade weaponry in an attempt to track the weapons back to the organization. It was a dumb idea. The ATF immediately lost track of over $1 million worth of military-grade firearms to assorted cartels. By 2011, of the 2,020 guns sold, the ATF had only recovered 590 of them, 2 of which were found the night Brian Terry died. It was a senseless policy that resulted not only in the death of Brian Terry, but in the deaths of hundreds of innocent Mexican citizens who did not make national headlines. The fallout from Terry's death has lasted over a decade, as convictions were slowly rolled out. 6 years after his murder by the Arizona and Mexico border, an article was published by The Hill discussing the lasting impact of the murder. The article stated, "In coordination with the Terry family, Laughing Wolf Productions LLC has recently started pre-production of Ambush at Peck Canyon, a film being executively produced by Robert Tosh Plumley and directed by Michael Saquella. The film will provide both additional information not yet made public and attempts to answer the family's questions." For his first directing project in a decade, Michael was going to write and direct a fictionalized account of Brian Terry's death in conjunction with executive producer and conspiracy theorist Robert Tosh Plumley, famous for his absurd and baseless claims regarding the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Fittingly, his assertions about Brian Terry's case have the same pedantic rhetoric of a JFK truther. The Laughing Wolf website originally referred to Ambush at Peck Canyon as a documentary, but quickly simplified the description to the true story of the tragic event and its national and international security implications. The only available footage is the trailer, which demonstrates that the film is a highly inauthentic retelling.
Fast and Furious. Let me tell you about Fast and Furious.
Hey! You need to get the hell out of here now.
We mean now, but we're all gonna die.
Hey, vámonos, Matos! Get the hell out of here! Come on, let's go! Get your asses over here now! They're gonna kill us if we don't move faster! Come on!
Where did you get this? Hey, look at here. It's down 10 off the Peck Canyon. Let's get out there and get going. Come on. Brian, we're short-handed. I want you to go with these guys. Gonzalo's out sick and Danny's on leave. Come on. It's that rip-off crew. We're going to get them this time. So come on, let's hurry up. Let's go. Let's go.
¿Qué pasa aquí? What's it to you, asshole?
Border Patrol agent. Federal, what's going on over here?
Hey, we know who you are. You're just another crooked American federal agent.
Yeah, all right. Let's put our hands in the air.
Is he dead?
You know what? Screw this guy. Get out of here.
Hey, listen, I had to shoot him. He saw too much. He knew too much. I'm not going down with you guys for this. I don't care if you are U.S. agents.
Do you want to know the truth? Just wait for the film.
Ambush at Peck Canyon, as is tradition for Saquella, has yet to materialize in the half-decade since announcement. Saquella was also set to head an adaptation of Plumlee's own political thriller novel, Deep Cover, Shallow Graves, which is a thinly veiled account of Plumlee's spurious claims he was a member of the CIA. Even less information is known about the Deep Cover, Shallow Graves movie. In February of 2017, Laughing Wolf publicly severed any ties with Saquella, saying, "Michael Saquella, aka Paloma, is no longer affiliated in any capacity with Laughing Wolf Productions LLC. Michael Saquella has never been authorized to charge merchandise or enter into any contracts or agreements or to negotiate same on behalf of either of the above-named companies." But it did not all go to waste. The core concept of a group of Border Patrol agents being ambushed by the Mexican border, resulting in the death of a Border Patrol agent, was recycled 2 years later in Saquella's next movie, El Coyote. Michael founded his own company, Cactus Blue Entertainment. This time his films would play into the fact that they were set in Arizona. Though as shown by a sizzle reel demonstrating their projects, Cactus Blue generously claims anything ever produced by Michael as part of their filmography. The first effort to come from Cactus Blue was El Coyote, a film pitting the Italian mafia versus the Mexican cartel. Michael wrote the first draft of El Coyote, while later drafts were handled by the director Jeffrey Nicholson. El Coyote received an unusual amount of attention for a film starring Saquella, as it was hit with rumors of a troubled production. The rumor sprouted from an anonymous source, speaking to gossip website Radar Online, who made a series of accusations regarding the behavior of actor Tom Sizemore. At the time he was cast in El Coyote, Sizemore's career had hit rock bottom, as he had recently been embroiled in controversy over allegations of sexual misconduct with an 11-year-old actress, coupled with his previous history of domestic violence and a lifelong battle with drug addiction. When Sizemore arrived in Arizona, he was unable to show up to set due to severe abdominal pain and had to be admitted to the hospital. The anonymous source had claimed that Sizemore was either unwilling or unable to pay for the hospital bill, so Saquella ended up paying for both his medical expenses and his stay at the local hotel. The source also alleged that after his recovery, Sizemore was frequently late to set, and that Sizemore had relapsed. Quote, "I don't believe he is sober. I've dealt with a lot of people who are on drugs, and he is definitely on something." The source claimed that the film's producers were considering excising Sizemore from the film altogether. In response, Sizemore broke down in tears, begging them not to send him home. The credibility of the anonymous source is uncertain, but the report was impactful enough that a PR piece posing as an interview was produced by John Bravo to refute the accusations.
I'm here with one of America's greatest actors, Tom Sizemore. I've never seen him this healthy. He's unbelievable. He's freaking clean. The guy's knocking it out of the park.
I took a shower this morning. I am clean. Something happened. I passed a kidney stone. Very harrowing experience. I actually thought I was dying. And of course, given my history, people thought that it was drug-related. Someone from the set called some journalists and told them that I had had a drug-related problem. You know, 2 years of sobriety kind of got stepped on in the press. I mean, I didn't lose it in my life, which is most important. Mike really tried to help get the word out there that it wasn't an overdose or some type of thing like that. And,
I'd like to add to that. I was at the hospital with him, and he truly did pass a kidney stone. And he didn't have to ask for money to pay for the hospital bill. He has great insurance.
Was that in there too? I had to ask for money?
That was in
Oh,
there.
really?
No, they said that I gave you $350 and then I bought your pills. I didn't
No,
buy
I
his
gave you
pills.
$350.
The guy is sober. Not only sober, the guy is healthy. He's making us laugh. Everybody on the set's been dying laughing. From the minute he got off the airplane until now, this guy has been funny. He's back, and he deserves people to leave him alone now.
Sizemore was heavily featured in the trailers and promotions, but when the film was distributed by Random Media, Sizemore's part was replaced with another actor filling his role as a corrupt senator working with the cartel.
We were tight. Come on, I'm in a jam with Jax. You were even at the christening when he was born.
That was a long time ago. A long time ago. My hands are tied now. It's complicated, all right? I'm retiring. I really do wish there was something I could do.
So that bullet at the restaurant was for me?
Don't ever call here again.
Enjoy your retirement, Senator. Although I hear it's tough looking over your shoulder all the time.
Hey, did you just threaten me?
Oh, I most certainly did. I'm coming for you, you worthless piece of shit. We were tight. Come on, I'm in a jam with Jax. You were even at the christening when he was born.
That was a long time ago. A long time ago. My hands are tied now. It's complicated. I'm retiring. And I really wish there was something I could do.
So that bullet at the restaurant was for me?
Don't ever call here again.
Enjoy your retirement, Senator. Although I hear it's tough looking over your shoulder all the time.
Hey, did you just threaten me?
Oh, I most certainly did. I'm coming for you, you worthless piece of shit.
Sizemore was also scrubbed from the IMDb page, and his name is unmentioned in the credits. The only reason given by Saquella for Sizemore's absence is vague.
The first one we did with that one was a movie called El Coyote. With me, originally starred Tom Sizemore, but we had to take him out because of his past. They wouldn't buy the film.
Released in October of 2019, El Coyote is the story of Stone Spencer, formerly known as The Butcher, an ex-mobster in witness protection, now working as a chef for an Italian restaurant.
Good Lord, man. Take your bride home already. You're a lucky fella. Bada bing, bada boom, you know what I mean? Oh, you can put an eye out with those things. Oh, there's so much wood under this table, the fire department's gonna shut me down, you know what I mean? Holy cow, I gotta get out of here. Can I take her with me? No, I'm just kidding, I gotta go. See you later. Thanks, everybody.
Things change when his son, an ICE agent, is taken hostage after being ambushed by the Matutero Mexican cartel. Stone Spencer is now forced to play along with the cartel's demands to get his son back. Despite being billed as the Italian Mafia versus the Mexican cartel, it is primarily a cartel movie, with the Mafia taking over an hour to appear in the film and only having about 16.5 minutes of screen time.
Thanks for coming, all of you. It means a lot to me.
What are you talking about? Anthony, you're still family, huh? Tutta famiglia, huh? All right, come on, enough with the hearts and flowers. Let's go whack these cocksuckers, come on.
The core conflict of El Coyote is intrinsically linked to issues surrounding the US-Mexican border, specifically the US Border Patrol, the cartel, and illegal immigration. The film often tries to pass itself off as indifferent to the topics, while still attempting to provide commentary on the issues.
There's growing movement on Mexicans jacking their own people after they've crossed, squeezing them for all they've saved, which is all they've got.
Rolling over on their own people. How noble.
They force the men to work or kill them. Rape and traffic the women.
They keep this up, and you'll be out of a job. Won't even need a damn wall.
Without their parents, the youngest kids are gonna die in the desert.
Not today.
Ahí está. Ya llegamos. Ahí va a haber mucha agua.
Welcome to America.
The scene that best encapsulates El Coyote is midway through the film. The only context necessary is that the driver did not violate any traffic laws before the cop pulled over the car.
Evening, fellas. Hey, you look lost. I don't see a Taco Bell around here. How about you let me see your license and registration?
Evening, sir. Is there a problem, officer?
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's you. You're the guy. You know, the guy from the movies. Hey, what am I, a clown? I amuse you? I make you laugh? I'm here to amuse you? Come on, you're the guy.
I get that all the time.
Oh, come on. You gotta say that. Oh, God, what's that guy? You know, that actor off The Sopranos. I'm Officer Bianchi.
Well, Officer Bianchi, it's a pleasure and an honor to have a fellow Italian way the fuck out here. I was just telling my Mexican jumping bean bodyguards about our food back home.
Oof, Maron, hey, tell me about it. What I wouldn't give for some of my grandma's homemade ossobuco alla milanese.
Wow, I just think I creamed my jeans.
That's great.
Yeah, they don't get it. They just don't get it. Yeah, what a strange country, Mexico. Am I right or am I right?
Hey, tell me about it.
I told these guys that Mexico couldn't have an Olympic team because all the swimmers, jumpers, and runners are already in the U.S. Later, officer.
Hey, great, man. Hey, I'll see you. You.
Fucking nuts. Pull it. Hit it, guys.
The Mexican cartel and Italian mafia are both violent criminal organizations. Picking a side between them is like arguing the morality of Yakuza and Bratva, which makes it especially baffling that El Coyote chooses the message of cartel bad, mafia good. The lopsided treatment comes to a head in the climactic showdown between factions. The mafia eviscerates the entire cartel in a very one-sided firefight with only a single loss of Italian life.
Where's Salvi?
No, Salvi. Salvi didn't make it. He's got cancer, and this is the way he wanted to go. He didn't want to die in a hospital with tubes up his ass. Look how beautiful all this is. We made Salvi's day, all right? We blew the shit out of all these Mexicans. Gabi? Huh? Right, fellas, didn't we? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Where you going? Where you going?
I gotta take care of a few things.
No.
I'll catch up with you guys later.
No, Rocco, go ahead. Go after him. Go after him.
No, it's okay. I gotta take care of some things. And don't freaking worry about it.
All right, come here, Rocco.
Upon its release, it was greeted with a scathing critique from film critic Bill Goodykutz of the Arizona Republic, titled, "How Bad Can One Movie Be?" El Coyote is in the running to be the worst film of the year. El Coyote is a horrible, offensive movie, bad in every way, I think. It occurred to me a few times while watching Jeffrey Nicholson's 93-minute atrocity that maybe it's a parody. Surely no filmmaker could, with a straight face, include a scene in which a man shoots a woman in the back during a fight scene and have him yell, #MeToo.
Hold on, mi amiga. #MeToo. #fuck you, bitch.
But no. With the 5 or 10 seconds of further reflection this film deserves, it seems as if it's meant to be taken in earnest. This is a good place to point out that Tom Sizemore is also in this movie because of course he is. The poster for the movie says, Italian Mafia versus Mexican Cartel. Dueling offensive stereotypes would have been more accurate. Maybe there's a place in the film world for El Coyote. As a cult artifact, something that years from now enthusiasts will defend as a kind of Dada experiment. In the moment though, as you suffer through it, it's just an ill-conceived mess. This review indicates that an early cut of the film released to theaters included Tom Sizemore's original scenes, before they were replaced in later editions. El Coyote is unique amongst Saquella's filmography, being the only film with a YouTube review, courtesy of Brad Jones, aka the Cinema Snob, who happened to catch it during its theatrical run in Chicago.
There were a few other people here at this movie El Coyote. I'm not exaggerating. I am 100% being serious right now. This is the first time I've been to a movie where it started out with other people in the theater. Not a lot, but some. And when the movie ended, I was the only one in there. This is actually a very hard movie to talk about without showing a lot of clips, because describing it will not do this movie justice. It's about a drug cartel that kidnaps this border patrol officer, I think, whose dad happens to be this ex-mafioso played by the movie's co-writer, Michael Saquella, I think. I'm looking at my thing over there. Saquella, I think that's it. It is that rare gem of bad movie that you just stumble into it, and from the moment it opens, you know you're going to be talking about this later. And also, Tom Sizemore is in this film. Tom Sizemore is in this movie as a corrupt politician who at one point is getting blackmailed by the head cartel member and then says to the cartel member, "Oh, geez, you millennials are so sensitive." What?
El Coyote was released to 50 theaters nationwide, and IMDb claims El Coyote made $1.1 million domestically. Cactus Blue Productions moved on to their next project. While El Coyote had a niche premise and an R rating, Michael's next project was meant to have a more broad appeal.
"15 years ago, Joe Bona could have been a pro golfer.
5 years in a row you won the local cup. Congratulations.
And then tragedy struck and he lost his family.
Ah! Oh, you're dead!
Guys, settle down. Come on, let me see that.
Without my family, what difference does it make at all?
Joe gave up on life.
Rise and shine, let's go! You, my friend, are gonna compete in the Arizona Open.
I don't play golf anymore.
Michael scrounged up unused footage from 2005 and revived his unfinished film, Dream Round. He collaborated with Lisa Houston, who took his original script and rewrote it in under 4 days. Instead of directing it himself this time around, all directorial duties were handed off to his regular assistant director, Dusty Ducats. All was set in place for Dream Round to come to fruition. Dream Round was given the most promotion of any of Cactus Blue's films. Saquella had struck a deal to promote and screen the film at Harkins Theaters, a theater chain exclusive to the Southwest United States. Posters were plastered outside by the entrance, and the trailer would play before various movies. Trailers and posters were far from the only promotion. Saquella made his way through the interview circuit to promote the film, appearing on podcasts, YouTube channels, and soft news pieces for local television stations.
What do you do on your downtime when you're not writing or anything?
Yeah, give me a number. I'll tell you later.
Oh, geez.
I'm Italian. Oh, she goes, oh, geez. Well, I played a lot of golf, and I did that. It's kind of boring me now. I like to cook. My second love in life is cooking. When I was a kid in LA, I lived there for a long time. I had 7 pizzerias. Then later in life, around the forget about it time at Burt Reynolds, I had 2 delis called Rocco's New York Deli. And then I opened up an Italian restaurant called Basil. I sold them all, got out of it, but I still love cooking for people. It's one of my biggest passions. And on Thanksgiving and Christmas, I like to go to the rescue mission in Phoenix. If I can't make it, then I send money to feed hundreds of poor people for Thanksgiving. That's one of my passions.
In multiple interviews, he seems to forget that he did not direct Dream Round.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Let's start with Dream Round. Not only are you the star of this film, you also co-wrote and produced it.
I certainly did. I produced it, I directed it, and I acted in it. I have a passion for golf.
Most interviewers seem to have only taken a cursory glance at Saquella's IMDb page prior to their conversations, commonly citing his unreleased, unfinished, and unavailable films as examples of his work. The exception is YouTuber Eddie Mata, whose inquisitive nature unearthed the most substantial look into Saquella's history.
Go ahead, pitch it to me. Talk to me. I want to know your trick. I want these other actors to know, how do you do it?
What, do you want me to go back in? What the hell? What's
Oh, okay. You don't have to tell me that. All right.
No. To do it right, you got to have an offering. It's called a private placement memorandum, a PPM. Or, you got to register everything with the Securities and Exchange Commission so you don't get in trouble. It's family and friends that give money that won't hurt you. And if you've got a rich relative, then maybe they'll front some money for you. But in the real world, you got to do a public offering, or you got to do a private placement. You got to be registered. You got to have security brokers with Series 7 licenses to help raise money. You just can't go out and ask for money anymore. If you don't make the picture, you go away. So I learned my lesson from them, from myself. And when I got out, the goal is not just to get the money and try to make a film. You have to make the picture. You can't take innocent people's money and try to make it. There's a lot of people in a lot of small towns that make these little piece of crap movies. They don't finish it. Or it's terrible because they can't get stars. And so the actors suck. So then what happens to those investors that put the 50 grand in? They don't get their money. Pictures are gone. People take off. So make sure you have enough money to complete the picture. Make sure you can edit it and you can deliver it. You have to have the effort to show it. Even if it doesn't work out, at least you tried. And in today's world, with all the streaming and with all the cable and everything everywhere, there's no reason why you can't sell a halfway decent picture with no stars in it.
Dream Round is proudly set in Arizona, featuring locales that are recognizable to anyone familiar with the Phoenix area. With the exception of Michael's longtime friend Richard Grieco, all of the cast are Arizona locals. Heidi Kaplan, who had previously played a small role in El Coyote, was promoted to the lead role of Jennifer, Joe Bona's love interest. The movie proudly states that it is introducing Alexa Lohman, who portrays the resident kid appeal character, Sarah. The IMDb page says, quote, Alexa Lohman, Sarah, was the last actress out of a dozen young girls to audition for the role and impress the producers. Alexa's father, Jason Lohman, is one of the film's executive producers.
I was just thinking, because as you're talking about, like when you're speaking with actors to get the right performance of the whole Kubrick thing with Shelley Duvall on The Shining, how he basically tormented her to kind of get that right performance out of her. Is that, to me, that seemed like a little extreme way of kind of getting the right performance, but is that kind of a normal thing?
Yeah, they have to pull performances out of them. I know that when I did Dream Round, the little 10-year-old girl, she would come into my trailer and then she'd be touching the ball that my daughter wrote her initials on the day before she died in a car crash in the movie.
Yeah.
And I yell at her and she has to get emotional. Well, she couldn't do it. We did it over and over and over. And finally I cut. I told everybody to take 5. I went to her parents. I said, listen, I'm going to yell at her in this next scene. I'm going to scream at her. I'm going to scream at her before the set, before I call action. She's a little actress, but she's really talented. So that's what I did. Brought everybody back. So everybody get ready. I told everybody knew what I was going to do. So I started screaming at her. I said, you got to get into this. You got to give me a performance. And I was yelling at her, come on, kid, you can do it. You want to be an actress? You can't act out of a paper bag. Blah, blah, blah. You're not going to get nothing but coal for Christmas. Blah, blah, blah. And she almost started crying. And then we called action. Then I was yelling at her, how dare you touch my daughter's ball? And all of a sudden she's like, oh my God. And I got it. I pulled it off. When you see the scene, everybody goes, oh my God, that little girl can act. But it took me 10 freaking takes to get that, but I pulled it out of her.
Yeah, I guess
that's what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing here? You're going to answer me? What are you doing in my house?
You dropped mail and I was just...
What's it in your hand?
It's a golf ball. It's pink.
Do not ever touch that ball again.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
This ball is never to be touched. You have no right being in my home, let alone touching my things. Now get out of here.
I'm sorry.
Blocking Bona's path to success is his rival, Sean McLaw, played by Richard Grieco. Richard Grieco is the only celebrity in the film, and the marketing heavily emphasizes his presence. Even though Grieco's screen time is minimal, his name is billed first on the poster, even beating out Michael Saquella, while neither Alexa Lohman or Heidi Kaplan are even mentioned. Overall, Dream Round's production value is shoddy, containing numerous examples of poor lighting, such as when Jennifer gives Bona a t-shirt, in what should be a touching moment, The ambient lamps backlight the actors, making the shirt impossible to see. The film appears to have never been properly color corrected, as the tint can change anywhere from blue to orange to a dull gray, often in the same scene. Saquella was clearly aware of the issue, as his acting reel uploaded to YouTube has consistent color correction. The flashback sequences, which were filmed in 2005, have noticeably been shot on a different camera, likely one using tape, unlike the rest of the film which was shot on digital. The scene also obviously uses the original in-camera audio, instead of redubbing the dialogue.
I didn't even get to say goodbye. I'm going to follow your dreams. I'm going to take my present and I'm going to be a golfer.
Joe Bona makes it to the Arizona finals, which are lined with posters of companies that sponsored the film. After a pep talk from Graham Scott, Joe Bona takes his opening swing, accompanied with a loud victorious clink, even though the shot clearly shows that Michael did not even hit the ball. Dream Round hit theaters on February 7th, 2020, to a total of 2 reviews. World Film Geek gave it a B, writing, "Dream Round is the type of film that should be seen by anyone who has a dream they may have lost, and need a bit of a jolt to reignite. Michael Saquella and the cast do a great job with this story of dreams and redemption." Mike Halberfellner of ResearchMyTrash.com, a website that specializes in hard-to-find, virtually unknown, or purposely neglected films, wrote in their review of Dream Round, "You don't have to know the first thing about golfing, or even have a certain fondness for the sport, to find Dream Round an uplifting movie. It's the sort of feel-good movie that works on a much more universal level, as even though the film's story might be a little too straightforward, it's carried by likable characters with relatable issues that are not resolved through spectacle, but the resolution being the backbone of the movie, and a very subtle direction and solid performances really help to bring this one to life in a very enjoyable way."
I had a Hispanic gangbanger, a gang member, tattoos all the way down the neck. And he writes, "What a wonderful film. My mother and I almost cried, and I don't cry. I recommend this film to everybody." And this is a guy that, that's a roughneck. You see stuff like that, you're like, we're on to something.
In the online sphere, audiences were less receptive. Even with the marketing push, the most attention Dream Round was able to receive was a Reddit post on r/cringe entitled, "I have never seen a worse movie trailer in my life." The post has 343 upvotes, with commenters comparing the trailer to the works of Tommy Wiseau and Neil Breen. The film's Letterboxd page is littered with the users giving it the lowest possible rating of a half star, though it appears some users have developed an ironic appreciation for the film, with user Tang writing, "Time for some Bona juice." Another user named Aaron Williams claimed, "If you see this movie and you give it a negative review, you will constantly be threatened and harassed by family members of the cast of this film. They will mistake you for other people on Letterboxd. They will demand apologies. They clearly cannot handle show business." The reviews on IMDb consist of 4 1-star reviews and a single 10-star review by Evan Shins titled, "This film changed my life." Is Dream Round the worst movie ever made? No. Is Dream Round the best movie ever made? Yes. The idea to take the cameraman and have him slowly walk around the actors in a circle while they're moving and not stabilize the camera is a genius creative decision reminiscent of Martin Scorsese. The way Michael Saquella performs the floss dance is a beautiful, touching moment that resonates with audiences. In conclusion, go see this film. It is an experience you will never forget. Dream Round's theatrical run grossed $20,000 before the COVID-19 pandemic shut down theaters nationwide.
Dream Round was in theaters, but COVID killed it. We were going to open up from Minnesota to Connecticut, and Connecticut to Florida. We had a bunch of things, but COVID hit and they pulled everything. We were opening on March 27th. And guess when COVID hit? So, but we did play in the Southwest. It did pretty good. You know, it was a test run, and it looked good. So we're getting ready to open up big, and it fell apart. But I made sure my films got distributed.
It was released on digital platforms in November. It was distributed by Random Media, a distribution company specializing in low-budget B-movies. The only physical format Dreamround is available on is DVD, while the HD version is exclusive to streaming platforms. Michael did some interviews to promote the home media release, but seemed far more eager to discuss his next film. In July of 2020, as COVID-19 rapidly spread across Arizona and the death rate began to spike, Cactus Blue Productions returned to shooting after a 2-month hiatus.
We were one of the first films approved by the Screen Actors Guild. We had to put all the COVID safety factors in place. We had 2 COVID specialists that were, we had sanitation stations. We had temperatures checked twice a day. They had to wear wristbands with the different temperatures. If you hit 99, you couldn't go to work. You had to sit down. If it dropped, you could come to work. But everybody wore a mask until action. And then at action would start, the actors would take their masks off, and then they would do the scene, and they would put them back on. And that's how we were approved for the Guild to be able to do the picture, and we did it right after Arizona opened up.
Michael Saquella co-wrote and directed the film Carolina's Calling, a romantic comedy with the highest profile cast of any Saquella film. It stars Antonio Sabato Jr., alongside Stacey Dash, best known for her role in Clueless, Jacob Hopkins, best known for his voice acting in shows like The Amazing World of Gumball, Savannah Moss, a TikTok star who currently has 10 million followers, and is known for her surrealist comedy.
Forget about it. There's Luigi and Joey over here. Did you see the deer across the street? What deer? That one over there. Over there.
Though the film does feature some previous collaborators.
This is a pretty nice guitar. I think you got yourself a pretty good deal. There you go.
Just put a guitar.
Hope you see again.
Let's play it in one shot.
In a remarkable show of restraint, Michael himself only appears in the opening sequence.
I'm stuck in traffic.
How long before you'll be here?
I don't know, we're not even moving.
Come on, hurry.
Tomcat? Hello? Impatient partner, man.
Screw it. It's just a quick test. Who will know?
The plot centers on an engineer from California named Martin Haas, who is attempting to create an infinitely renewable energy source to combat climate change. When a test goes wrong, it causes a passing alien spacecraft to crash on Earth. 5 years later, Haas and his team are ready to move forward with their energy cube, when a coalition of oil, gas, and coal tycoons sabotage the project's future.
I represent the natural gas industry.
Afterwards, Haas, who is suffering from visions of South Carolina, decides to move to Myrtle Beach with his daughter. The crux of the plot focuses on a redneck alcoholic wisecracking alien named Bob, who does not make an appearance until the 3rd act. The rest of the film is a rather plain, mostly inoffensive romantic comedy about both of the Haasses finding love in South Carolina. The other major subplot is about Martin's love interest Mary's abusive ex-husband. The subplot is a rather trite story where Martin stands up to Mary's ex on her behalf, and attempts to drive Mary's ex out of town with Bob's assistance. However, in the climax, her ex returns with a coalition of truckers, who Bob handily defeats. Carolina's Calling went relatively unnoticed, and little information is available regarding its production and release. But a few interviews with Saquella and TikToks by Savannah Moss provide some insight.
For Carolina's Calling, we're going to do a big red carpet out here. We got the local TV station, and they're going to do a red carpet with me with the Harkins Theater out here. They're in 5 states. And afterwards, you know, there's always an after party. We're going to do my blue show afterwards.
That's amazing.
So I'm going to come out of retirement. My acting name used to be Paloma, Michael Paloma, in the New York Blues. So it's going to be Saquella, but it's going to be the New York Blues, whatever it is. But I got a really cool show. But in the middle of my show, we're going to have a guest spot.
My dancer singers are going to do a number called Cell Block Tango. That's in the, and while they're doing Cell Block, I change and I come out with my Blues Brothers partner and we blow them away. We do about 6, 7 Blues Brothers numbers, and then we do a big finale with everybody. But mainly my stuff, but I do a Blues Brothers act in the middle of my blues show.
About a year and a half ago, I was in a movie called Carolina's Calling. Here are some behind-the-scenes clips.
Overall, Michael's return to the industry appeared to be the fresh start he needed. For the first time this century, he was not at the center of any legal battle. To a typical outside observer, it seemed Saquella, now 62 years old, was content to be out of prison and creating his own movies. Saquella's legacy is scattered across the internet. While coverage of him receives minute amounts of attention, occasionally, individuals claiming to know him share their thoughts on his character. Often this is vitriolic, as seen in the comments of his Sugar Daddy music video. Alleged testimony dates back to 2007, from anonymous comments on law professor Eric C. Chafe's blog. In present day, commenters are primarily on YouTube videos, either uploaded by or featuring Saquella. A particularly thorough commenter, going by Fred Gardia, has left a trail across YouTube comment sections, sharing a link to a video they proclaim reveals the true Michael Saquella. The links are now dead, but a re-upload of the video, titled Michael Saquella and Tiger Eckert Fraud Alert Best Image 1 LOC Mesa, Arizona, reveals the video was a still image that advises viewers to read the description. Beware of Michael Saquella / Paloma and Tiger Eckert. They are low-budget filmmakers that have frauded many movie investors in the state of Arizona of several $100,000. They have conned and scammed investors and innocent people of their money with no intent to repay. If you do a research on Michael Paloma / Saquella, you will find he served time in federal prison several years for frauding investors in the stock market. There is now a coalition of investors and those who loaned Michael money wanting justice for the fraud Michael has done to them. Michael has already been in federal prison for scamming and frauding people in stocks. Please see supplied links of his criminal background in this description. Beware of these repeat fraudsters. Over on Facebook, actor Anthony Verducci, who appeared in El Coyote and Carolina's Calling, has left a series of comments, calling Michael a fraud and claiming that he stole $16,000 from him. Lisa Huston, co-writer of Dream Round, simply commented, "Monday is court, we'll see him and Tiger there." When another user showed support for Saquella, Jay Lyman responded, "This is about people who loaned him big money, with him promising to pay back immediately on loans he acquired from many individuals. And he hides and not pays it back. I will be plastering Mikey's frauds on social media too. He was already in prison for frauding millions from people in stocks. Evidently, you don't know what the hell you're talking about." Michael was at the center of several concurrent lawsuits. There is limited information regarding all of them, and all the allegations from here on out are unproven and unverifiable. The first lawsuit was filed in August of 2021 by FRJ Investments, a real estate agency that was suing Michael Saquella and Cactus Blue Entertainment over a lease agreement. They alleged that Michael was set to lease their property, but had vacated it before paying, and asserted that he caused property damage, including but not limited to destroying the carpets, holes in the walls, trash, and abandoned refuge left in the subject property. FRJ sought $181,417.46 from the lawsuit, but the validity of the allegations has yet to be proven. The complaint features several questionable assertions, such as when it insinuates that Michael Saquella is not his real name, and promises to update the complaint if they discover the real one. In August of 2022, FRJ filed a motion to dismiss, citing a lack of response on Michael's part. Their main reasoning for dismissal was the discovery that Michael was still subject to the $7.8 million restitution from the SEC judgment. FRJ expected the motion to go unopposed, and in September the case received an order of dismissal without prejudice. Another lawsuit was brought against Saquella by Jason Lohman. Before 2019, Jason had never been involved in any film production, and was in charge of several, self-described, successful self-made businesses. Then, Jason shifted his focus to promoting his daughter's acting career. In a short amount of time, Alexa booked her first starring role in Dream Round, with Jason serving as an executive producer, and they would collaborate with Saquella again during Alexa's cameo in Carolina's Calling. After Dream Round, Jason and Alexa co-founded the production company Agelo Productions, standing for Alexa Jade Lohman Productions. The first film the father-daughter team would create was called Rescue, with Jason serving as co-director, co-writer, co-cinematographer, editor, producer, and the film's lead. Jason and his wife Kimberly were inspired to write the film after seeing an article regarding the bust of a child trafficking ring in Mesa.
I remember that bus. I remember seeing the pictures on news of the guys and everything. And so...
so you guys want to write some real life stuff,
yes,
that's really going on here in our world.
Yes, and Arizona is a high area for trafficking.
That's very true.
In a press release, Agelo emphasized Rescue as a film raising awareness of human trafficking through the skin of a Taken clone. It is important to this film's crew and cast members that this indie film, filmed in Arizona, will raise awareness of the seriousness of the child trafficking and abductions. Understandably, this film depicts some rather intense and dramatic moments. It was necessary to capture the authentic feel of this horrible reality that plays out in our world today. When viewing this movie, please be sure to see the last scene found after the rolling credits.
What do we got here?
Where's my daughter? I'm gonna squeeze this if you don't tell me.
Come out to play.
As the Lohmans broke off on their own, they were still dealing with the fallout of Dream Round and their collaboration with Michael Saquella. In November 2021, the Lohmans filed a lawsuit against Saquella and his company, Best Image LLC, as well as his accountant, Tiger Eckert. The Lohmans' complaints went back to summer of 2019, when Alexa auditioned for the role of Sarah in Dream Round. They alleged that not long after filming had begun, Saquella suggested they invest in Dream Round's production for a percentage of the film's earnings that would recoup and exceed the cost of investment. The Lohmans claimed they invested $20,000 in return for 10% of the film's profits. The pattern repeated through production and into post-production, as Saquella would frequently ask the pair to cover costs, such as theatrical distribution, picture insurance, and post-production. Each time the Lohmans would loan thousands of dollars. It had gotten to the point that their stake in Dream Round's release had supposedly increased to 50% of the film's profits, and they had loaned close to $93,000 for the picture's production. They were supposed to recoup their investment by May 2020. By the time Dream Round released to streaming in November, the Lohmans had yet to receive their return on investment. The Lohmans' lawsuit sought $112,935 in damages, based on 7 counts, including 2 counts of breach of contract, as well as violation of ARS, conversion, fraudulent misrepresentation, unjust enrichment, and alter ego, which asserts Best Image and Saquella are indistinguishable. The Lohmans suspected that their loans and investments were used by Saquella and Eckert, quote, in whole or in part for their personal benefit, and that Saquella and Eckert knew the representations to be false at the time they were made. It is unclear what amount of the complaint is factual, as the two parties came to a settlement in March of 2022. A final lawsuit was filed by Adam Hansen and Catherine Bell of BLDM Management, with assistance from third parties, Wells Fargo Bank, Random Media, and Cinedigm Corp. The lawsuit attacked the Saquella family trust and alleged that Michael had received $25,000 in loans to distribute his films. With the promise of financial compensation, and that he would use his expertise to help Adam's company go public. The lawsuit was filed in April of 2021, claiming a total of 6 counts against Michael, including 3 breaches of contract, as well as conversion, fraudulent misrepresentation, and unjust enrichment. The complaint asserts that the plaintiffs have suffered significant losses and have been damaged as a direct and proximate result of the defendant's breach of the first and second, including, but not limited to, plaintiff's loss of $125,000. In May 2022, BLDM Management was awarded a $300,000 judgment against the third-party Cinedigm Corp. due to Cinedigm's failure to appear at the hearings. A day after, BLDM Management and Saquella came to a settlement. As his lawsuits come to a close, and as of the time of writing, Saquella's most recent project is Intuitive Network, a streaming platform that hosts a collection of his films, as well as other cheaply licensed projects. The app is hosted on TV Startup, a program that allows anyone to pay to use their pre-made template to create a streaming service with their own content, allowing users to collect ad revenue off the content. Intuitive launched in late 2022. The content is similar to Saquella's YouTube channel, being uploads of Cactus Bloom movies, trailers, and music videos. Being able to distribute his own content without outside interference has allowed Saquella to distribute previously lost and unavailable films, such as Desert Rose and the Sizemore cut of El Coyote. What little advertising there has been for Intuitive has falsely promoted shows like News Travelers as part of their catalog. While the total user base is unknown, the Google Play page states that as of May 2023, barely over 5 people have downloaded the app, though Saquella claims there is a significantly larger viewership. Since launch, Saquella has diversified his content by signing on his collaborator, Adam Rivera, self-described psychic and empath Sheena Metal, nutrition and fitness coach Lori Corbin, and wrestling podcast Monty and the Pharaoh to the platform.
We're really happy to have them. They're doing really well. It started with only a couple hundred people watching them, all the way up to thousands, tens of thousands are actually watching you guys now on this network. So we're basically a mini Hulu, a mini Netflix, a mini, starting up. We're trying to grow and get big, and eventually this thing should be good. I'm looking at it at like Ryan Reynolds. He put together a little phone company. Well, holy cow, just a few years later, 1.3 billion. If we could do it 250, 300, 500 million, I'd be happy. I want to give the big boys a run for their money and put some good product out there, and then one day, maybe I sell it and I'll retire and I'll go away for 3 days and I'll go back to work on Monday because I'm never going to retire.
It appears all future Cactus Blue projects will be distributed on Intuitive.
If you like The Sopranos, you're gonna love Conversations with a Mobster. It's a little more graphic with lots of blood. This new series is only on Intuitive Network. Download Intuitive Network now for free on all major platforms.
Other upcoming projects include an Avengers-style super cop crossover film titled Mike Logan Returns, a sequel to the unreleased Lady Blues.
But Mike Logan is something I wrote and I love. It's the retired detective that's got to basically save the world. And it's a spin-off into a super cop hero movie. You've seen the Avengers, we've seen the Justice League, we've seen all these great movies, but what about all the great cops in America, right? Let's think about the Die Hards and the Mel Gibsons and the Tom Cruises and the Will Smith and all these guys. But what if Mike Logan meets him as he's going through life? He bumps into Tom Cruise because he jumped on the wrong plane. It's the Mission Impossible plane. He just goes on and all these different characters, and he meets them all, but only for 1 minute each. But at the very end of the movie, they get a phone call from the only guy they trust in the federal government. I need you guys. And they're going to say, well, what for? Because of COVID and because of the wall that Trump's building, their business has been cut 90%. So the cartel has joined with the Taliban. And then the sequel, which we wrote, we registered and we copywrote, just like the superheroes, but they're going to do what they did best in their movies. Whether it was kung fu, karate chops, shooting guns. We've got 2 big names that looks like they're going to go into it. If we pull them off, the others will come,
The horror anthology miniseries called The Man Who Stuck in the Haunted House the movie, which Saquella is slated to write, direct, produce, and star in. He is also working on an El Coyote spin-off TV show simply titled Stone, which he frequently compares to Breaking Bad, stating that he based his portrayal of Stone Spencer on Walter White. Stone Spencer's daughter, who had previously been played by actor Michelle Dean, has been recast, with Savannah Moss taking over the role. Filming appears to have taken place, but the only trailer heavily reuses footage from El Coyote, with little in the way of new content.
They're gonna make me an offer I can't refuse if I don't launder money for them.
Ya sabía que estaba robando, cabrón. Eso pasa por rata. Ahora sí, darle la bolsa. Just remember, if you fuck up, that's gonna be you.
I always deliver.
His most persistent claim is that there have been multiple offers to adapt his life story. Supposed bids have come from an unnamed Wall Street investor and the far-right news organization One America News Network, neither of which have materialized.
I had a Robert Downey Jr., but my greed wasn't drugs or pills or alcohol. Mine was greed for money. You know, I did money stuff and I got banged. The government got me good. But it's over with. I did my time.
You did your time. It's all right. At least you did your time. And you didn't hurt anybody, so you're all good with that.
It was all internet stuff. We were the first guys that did a bunch of internet stuff, and I got caught in the middle of it. And they wanted to do a book called The King of Pump and Dump. I had a big firm from New York fly out to see me, like a Goldman Sachs kind of, you know, they wanted to do a $100 million film in my story because they know the Wolf of Wall Street. They know the actual character that went away on that. Leonardo DiCaprio did an incredible job, but they said a lot of that was not true. You're true. And I go, no, I had jets, I had planes, I had beautiful women, I went to Vegas, I spent $100 grand and lost $300,000 on the table. What it was because I was connected to the mob. So they wanted a mob angle. They want to know how this guy that really wasn't famous could go hang out with the Minnesota Vikings, hang out with Red McComb, the owner, go to the field, hang out with Randy Moss, and then a week later fly Burt Reynolds, Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, fly everybody to Florida to watch Burt's old alma mater and watch them play, their homecoming game. I took them all there on my plane, $50,000 in the gas and the pilots. We went. I was rolling back then. But I got hit hard. It's over with. And they wanted to know how the hell did this guy do it? But they really wanted them out, and I didn't want to do it. Then they came back and said, okay, if you play yourself, and they told me the studio that would do it. And I said, fine, I would do it after I talked to my family because I don't want to embarrass everybody. A couple months ago, they called me up and said, well, okay, we can shoot it up to like $100 million, but you can't play yourself. They want a big name to play you, and you can be at the end of the movie, and we'll give you a little cameo. I said, hell no, goodbye. And I have, they did a big documentary on me, and it's coming out on OAN. Ann Vandersteel, she's a reporter, mainly a big time. They're big with the Trumps. And they came down and interviewed me about some stuff that I learned when I was in trouble, actually when I got locked up. And I met some people from the Fast and Furious operation, and I knew a lot of stuff, and I got too much. So they wanted to interview me about that, but I said, no, I want to promote my acting career. So they did a 3-part, 30 minutes each. I'm going to be on OAN within the next couple of weeks. Yeah, and you watch it, you're going to cry. Some of the girls at the office, some of the partners that are involved with me, were all sat down to watch it, and all of them were grabbing the tissue box because it's a true story. It's like, how I started. I was a different guy. I was an idiot. I made lots of money. Then I got locked up, and then I came out, and then the things that happened. I'm not the guy I used to be. I changed, Yeah,
that's very inspiring, actually. I think more people need to know that and to hear your story, because it is possible for people to change, and, you make bad decisions. Everyone does. You learn from them. Some people don't, but you clearly have, and I think that's important.
He also plans to remake his Sugar Daddy music video.
We're doing a remake of my Sugar Daddy that did really well, got thousands of views on my YouTube, but it's outdated. So we're going with a rapper, and we lifted it up to a real cool beat. And we're going to do a video where now I'm old, and I got all these old women with me because I'm a sugar daddy for old ladies. Yeah. I plan on doing more stuff. It's just, I want to do a lot of stuff. I don't want to quit. I don't want to retire. I just want to go. I want to have a camera in my hand filming while they lower me in the grave. You know what I mean? Hey, what's he doing? He's still shooting. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, forget about it. You know what I mean?
While reflecting on his career in an interview, Saquella said, "It's hard to make in show business. You will never make it. It took many years to make it, if you call making it by having some good roles in large films. I am still trying every day to make it. 40 years in the entertainment industry has proven turbulent for Saquella. But, in the face of perpetual legal trouble, many false starts, dozens of cancelled projects, and a decade in jail, Michael has persisted. No amount of opposition has been capable of stopping the ambitions of Michael Saquella.